This is a clouds weather alert. Good Friday evening, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud coming in the air right now. It's severe thunderstorm warning in effect here for parts of Gilchrist County. This is our 5:30 show, but having to start off talking about some severe conditions here that potential, at least toward parts of Gilchrist County. The warning issued at 5:24 there, going till 6 o'clock for areas of Gilchrist there. Don't always get warnings down in this part of our region, but just seeing a really strong signal in the Doppler radar right now. I know it's pretty far away from the different sites, but I'm seeing a pretty strong signal of some severe conditions down there, that potential. I know, getting maybe some hail indications on one of my sources here. Now, the Weather Service is warning for the wind threat, though. Talking about 60-mile-an-hour winds. That possibility. Southwestern Gilchrist County till 6 p.m. It's a severe thunderstorm located near Trenton, moving south about 10 miles an hour. So some damage to roof side and trees could occur there in and around Trenton and toward parts of Gilchrist County. A severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Gilchrist County there until 6 p.m. So we're looking at the map here very carefully, looking at the Doppler algorithms. You just see lightning all over the place here, whether it's around Fanning Springs there or in Trenton. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning in play until 6 p.m. Let's go into some of our different modes here. We'll go to velocity mode. You see some green and red enhancement here on the Doppler. Seeing that right around Trenton. Maybe some wind damage potential there. As we're looking, I didn't see any type of tornado possible tag. Not really seeing weak rotation necessarily with the storm activity, inside of it, but just the overall banding. We do have some of that because we have something we're watching in the tropics now up to a 30% chance of development. Not enough to turn that logo red or anything like that, but we're just going to continue to give you guys the very latest here on the scenario as we're trying to keep you up to date here on cloud weather at 5:30. Just appreciate everybody tuning on in here with me on this Friday. We're just trying to give you guys the very latest information here. Again, cloud weather at 5:30 here on this Friday. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning in toward areas there around Trenton. So we need to be inside. We need to be away from windows there as we're looking there around spots like Trenton in terms of the viewing circles. So Trenton here, as I get down to street level, you see State Road 26. We have Southwest 50th Street there. We have South Highway. It looked like 129 in there. Southeast State Road 47. So again, a severe thunderstorm warning in effect right now around the Trenton area. We had a couple other severe thunderstorm warnings we had to jump in for earlier. Now we're on our 5:30. So here with a severe thunderstorm situation, a severe thunderstorm warning in effect right now. So let me go ahead. You can see here some of the magenta colors on the screen here that is indicative of some very strong thunderstorm activity. Just whenever thunder roars, you need to go indoors here as we're looking around Trenton and toward parts of Gilchrist County. So again, just seeing a lot of this there. As we look on in, I know this kind of sometimes will indicate hail. We're looking pretty high up, but there could be some hail in and around Trenton as we get down toward Northwest 50th Avenue, maybe even in parts of northern Levy County. There's a different weather service down there as we're looking, and there is a significant weather advisory, a special weather statement in play as we get down in toward that part of our viewing circle. So again, severe thunderstorm warning, though, for parts of it looks like areas there in toward Gilchrist County. So let's get back on in here. Severe thunderstorm warning. Need to be inside and away from windows there. This is, by the way, if you're wondering geographically, we don't talk about Gilchrist as much because, again, we don't get a warning there as much because we're pretty far up on the radar side. I'm looking, it's over 7,000 feet looking from the Jacksonville radar. That's probably about the closest view we're going to get there. I mean, you see how far that is from Jacksonville, but it's just west of Gainesville a little ways. I mean, to be completely honest here, and I mean, in terms of just national reference points here, Trenton is well known for a famous baseball player, Wyatt Langford, who played for the Texas Rangers. He played for the Gators there. That's where he's from. Just to kind of give you a reference point here for, our 38 county viewers and just anybody maybe tuning in with some interest here down toward Trenton. That's where he's from. That's his hometown there in toward parts of Gilchrist County. It's a pretty rural community overall, but again, looking down there with a severe thunderstorm warning right now as we give you guys the very latest information. So Southwest County Road 307A, Southwest 17th Court there, Southeast State Road 47. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning in play for the Trenton area until 6 p.m. in parts of Gilchrist County. You see this over here, Newberry. Then you have areas that are around Gainesville eventually as I move the map on over. They're staying, I'm kind of in the way a little, but you see they're staying pretty calm right now in terms of the storm activity. But then the lightning counter just explodes as they get out toward Gilchrist County. 259 strikes there, 261 strikes in the last 15 minutes in this frame here. That's excessive lightning. Whenever thunder roars, you need to go indoors here as we look toward parts of Gilchrist County. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect right now as we look at the overall situation. Just lightning, all these flashes here, they're everywhere, and the lightning on the board, but the flashes, the ones that are flashing, that indicates lightning within the last 60 seconds. So that is a significant setup there in terms of some concern. Again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Gilchrist County. Let me see if there's any questions, comments real quick, and then we'll get back into the warning here. It looks like we have a Fire Larry Trains watching. Appreciate you tuning on here on this Friday. We'll try to get into the full forecast here, as time permits. We will eventually get to it, have everything ready to go with that. It's just a situation we got to focus right now on our warning. But we have Top Cat here watching. We have Jason Peters Radio Adventures tuning on in, and there Nick's watching and AJ watching here as well. Just appreciate everybody tuning on in here on this Friday. But right now we do have to focus on, the action down toward Gilchrist County. Let's go over to the Barron button here. We're going to go ahead and look at the overall situation here. You see some of the different tools. We do have the marginal risk is severe in play. I'll say that just real quick because for other areas, the other viewers in other areas that are watching here, you see that's more to the east. So Tallahassee, Bainbridge's not in it, but we'll still be paying attention out toward your area here to see how things evolve. But now what I want to do, you can see we have the drought situation still. We need the rain, but we don't want, all this storm activity. But here's the Barron button. You can see some hail potential here as we get on in toward parts of Gilchrist County around Southwest 50th Street, Southwest 17th Court. You can kind of see the, overall situation there. Southwest 32nd Place. So again, some hail there if possible. Again, this is in the Fanning Springs area as well. Let's kind of get on in here, just really trying to update you guys. Let me tilt this back a little bit, to the straight up view. You have Southwest 22nd Court, Southwest 17th Court, Southwest 20th Avenue, Southwest 27th Place here, getting some inclement weather conditions as we just have so much rain coming down. You see have this wind energy in here. You have winds at 30 for one way. And right now, it looks like, there could be 20 the other way. So maybe some damaging potential. It doesn't look, we're so far up, but it doesn't look quite as organized as maybe it was a few minutes ago. Yeah, it looks like a little bit of weakening trend there, at least within the warning polygon. But you can see some advisories further out toward the west here that we'll be mindful of, obviously, as we keep you guys informed on the overall situation. But there's just tons of lightning down here toward Gilchrist County. Let's, loop this here over the past hour, and wasn't there an hour ago, but Trenton's been getting hammered. A very heavy thunderstorm. Maybe, it could be your worst thunderstorm of the summer here right now around Trenton there and toward parts of Gilchrist County. Maybe your worst thunderstorm of the summer right now around Trenton and Gilchrist County. As we're looking west of Newberry, we're looking, I would say, though, northern parts of Levy's getting into this pretty bad, too. Chiefland's getting hammered, just not maybe the severe criteria with the magentas showing up, but you guys are getting a pretty nasty thunderstorm as well in northern Levy County. But the focus is Fanning Springs to Trenton right now. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning in play here. As I look at my big board to see if there's any new updates. Don't see any right now, but this is, just very heavy rainfall here. Frequent lightning, just excessive lightning. It is, a terrible storm for you guys with all that thunder around us. Whenever thunder roars, you need to go indoors. But let's see your power outage numbers right now. As I look, yeah, you see Gilchrist County. I know they don't have, huge population, but over 10% of the population without power there. In toward Gilchrist County now as we look toward the Trenton area. So that stands out here like a sore thumb as you look toward that area. Or one county with 10+% in the dark already. And things, are probably going to get even worse here as we look over the next few moments. And, already it's pretty nasty, even maybe before the warning came out. It didn't necessarily take severe conditions there to get a scenario with maybe some of the overall, power outages with the lightning, maybe still, striking some equipment there. causing some problems toward Trenton, towards Fanning Springs, and that rainfall, excessive rainfall could be a concern. Let's go ahead and go over to some of our different products right now. Looking through what we have available to us here. I want to get to our Weather Prediction Center information. So let me go to hydrology, and then we'll go to day 1 excessive outlook. And they're kind of right on the edge of the official flash flood risk, but let me go to one of our other tools that we have here. Going to go to the barren flash flood risk. It's not really picking up on it as much in Gilchrist, more so in Levy County right now, but we'll just continue to watch the overall trends, because as I go back to radar, I mean, this is just some very heavy rain. We're pretty far from the radar. That's what makes me a little more concerned here. Seeing this high of a signal, this far from the radar, could be even worse than what we're seeing. Or it may not be quite as bad as possible, but all this lightning makes me think, it's a little bit worse. So a lot of these storms have had a lot of lightning today here. As we've been looking, just that dangerous lightning, but already an inch or so around Trenton. And as I go over, granted, the rainfall rates are going to, make this look a little worse than maybe it is. But I'm going to go over to the dual pole rainfall rate product here. And it is going to show us if all the heavy rain fell at a constant rate and there was not any hail in there, it'd be 6.5 inches an hour. Now, we're not quite getting to that. We're not going to get 6.5 inches in an hour necessarily on spot, but we could get 3 inches in an hour. So I would at least expect a flood advisory here toward this region. If not something beyond that, maybe not more needed than that, because it is pretty rural overall. But at least a flood advisory may be necessary as we look down toward Gilchrist County here over the next little bit. So again, just trying to keep you guys informed here toward Trenton, toward Fanning Springs. A severe thunderstorm warning. If you're around Newberry, you're hearing some of those rumbles of thunder. Still some in your area too. Be inside, be away from windows. But the worst of the weather is right in Trenton there around Wade Street, around Southwest 2nd Avenue, Southwest 4th Avenue, Northeast 5th Avenue, Northeast Trenton Boulevard, Southwest 15th Court there, Southwest 95th Street. Again, you're seeing all this come in there. You see Fanning Springs getting it pretty hard as well. Around Northeast 175th Lane, Northwest 180th Street there. So, again, a severe thunderstorm situation. They're kind of right on the edge there around Fanning Springs officially. But, Gilchrist County is getting this pretty, badly here right now in terms of the overall impact. Going to check something. I can check it from this source. So let me just go ahead and do that here real quick to see if we have any traffic cameras in Trenton. If there's something really impressive, I'll go to our other source and switch it on over, to try to give that to you. But I can check it from over here. So do we have any traffic cameras in Trenton and Gilchrist County? We do not with the Florida 511. So we won't worry about that. Now, how about Old Town? I saw it looked like I might have had one around Old Town, and they're getting it pretty hard. Let me look at it then behind the scenes. Let me look at that behind the scenes here real quick. See if it's worth pulling on up. It's showing the wet conditions, so that's some of the lightning. So let's go ahead. I'll put up our covered map real quick to kind of give you a geographic reference point for the Trenton area. We have Old Town just to the west here as well in the Wardour region, but Trenton is in Gilchrist County, and that's where our focus is. Also in the parts of Levy and Dixie, kind of all that area there. We have 3 different weather services come together right there between Dixie, the Tallahassee office, Gilchrist, the Jacksonville office, and Levy is the Tampa office. So I'm going to try to get that traffic camera pulled up, though, as we look at things here momentarily. Here, it's just a one-man band, but it's all about trying to give you guys the very latest to protect you, your friends, your family. So let me go ahead and see what we can pull up there toward Gilchrist County as the situation does evolve there toward Trenton. But, really the camera I'm going to pull up is just to the west around Old Town there. That's what's available. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to pull that on in here momentarily as we keep you guys informed here on the latest developments. The warning's still in effect here. It's still in effect. So let me go ahead. We're going to go ahead and I'll come back on camera now. So I'm back on camera, and then we're going to go ahead and as I'm looking to make sure we don't get any new alerts, we're going to go ahead and switch it over to traffic source. And we're going to go ahead, and you see this behind me here. This is around Old Town. In the overall vicinity here, it's a wet pattern. Worse maybe toward Trenton now, but still pretty nasty around Old Town there as we look right now on the traffic camera, the community of Old Town there, as we watch things, as we look at our overall mapping. Old Town's there in eastern Dixie County. So I know we have US 19/98 there at State Road 349/Canyon Road 349. That's what we're looking at right now there. Again, just monitoring the situation very carefully. You can see some of the pond in the water on the roadway. Just remember, now this didn't look like that situation yet, but, remember that if the water is too deep, and you can't see how deep it is, and you just need to go ahead and turn around here and not get your car caught up, because some roads may look a lot worse than this. I just saw some flashes, apparently, some of that lightning being visible, obviously, on this camera here. As we look at the overall scenario. Again, this is around Old Town, the community of Old Town in eastern Dixie County, just west of Gilchrist County where Trenton is, where we have the severe thunderstorm warning in play here as we're looking across parts of north central Florida right now. So again, we don't honestly talk about Trenton maybe enough even, but it's a situation. We have a warning in play right now. We need to be giving you guys the very latest. I mean, we just don't get warnings down there that much either, or at least if we do, it'd be a line, or we talk about other areas, but the focus is on Trenton. The focus is on Fanning Springs right now because there's a severe thunderstorm warning effect. The Jacksonville office deeming there to be enough in the Doppler algorithms with the signal to have to issue a severe thunderstorm warning for this zone. There's just tons of lightning at least. The wind damage potential is kind of hard to, really determine from this far away from this site, but we can see a lot of lightning there. So we'll go back away from the traffic camera for now. We'll keep our eyes on things like that the best we can. I'll continue to monitor some of that, but let me go ahead and we'll just kind of focus on the Doppler perspective for now. You see from Fanning Springs around Trenton there, just some really nasty weather. The winds don't look as, enhanced anymore, which is good, but just some really nasty weather there. Some really heavy rainfall. We're looking very far away on the Doppler at all of this. But, some of these conditions pretty nasty. Some power outages really being noted on this graphic there toward Gilchrist County now in terms of the numerical value, not just the percentage, but the actual number of customers in the dark there. It probably won't be as high as maybe you think because the population is pretty low there. Though, it could be going up some, so let's look. Okay, so how many are out in Gilchrist County? 1,000 customers. Remember, there's a lot lower population there than like Alachua County. And then as I move it over here some, we'll kind of pixel query all these as we try to give you the latest. 1,000 Alachua, as well as Gilchrist, and then 100 out in Bradford. Okay, the update now, 2,000 out in Gilchrist, 700 out in Alachua there, and 100 out in Bradford County. So this is kind of telling that weather story here. As we look at the very latest information, again, with our severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Gilchrist County there. We're looking west of Newberry, north of Chiefland, though Chiefland's getting it pretty bad too. And in that county, we have 700 customers in the dark. As we look there, it's 700 out, and I'm in the way of it, but 700 out toward parts of Putnam County. And then as we get toward parts of Marion County, 300 customers in the dark. Columbia County, 100. So these storms, with the lightning causing some issues. I've had a couple warnings other spots, but right now the focal point is Gilchrist County because that's a lot for a small county like that. The percentage will probably go up on another graphic quite a bit here in a moment. I'll check it maybe even on this source because it may give us the update here a little bit quicker. But let me go ahead and so we're going to go over to the power outage mode a different way then. So let's go county power outage percentage on this map because this will be the newest info. It might take a second. The other one, now almost a fourth of the county of Gilchrist is out of power. So that's the new update now. Almost 25% of Gilchrist County there in the dark as we're looking. It's doubled, just in the last, assessment there. We were on, talking about it. It may have been, even lower right when we were first jumping in here than the 10% or so out, but it's now doubled to about a quarter of the county in the dark there. Gilchrist County, a quarter of the electric customers out. Power there toward Gilchrist County right now. This is why even it's a pretty sparsely populated area. Trenton's, fairly decent size. There's a high school there, things like that. it's not like we're just out in the woods with this, but it's a county that doesn't get talked about a lot. This is why I'm spending so much time on it, because they are getting a rough evening of thunderstorm activity there in Gilchrist County. We stay on for all the severe thunderstorm mornings anyway. It's different, sometimes right during the 5:30 show. If we have some other stuff we really need to jump to, occasionally I will, but I wanted to stick with this here while we see this greatest danger for our viewers toward Gilchrist County. They're around Trenton, in toward that zone there. Again, 22.5% in the dark. You have Bells in that county as well, but Trenton's where the focus has been with the yellow box here. That's input till 6 p.m. from the Weather Service in Jacksonville. We're just continuing to track things here with the overall Doppler radar signals, the Doppler algorithms. The worst storm accident of the day, it would seem, is toward Gilchrist County so far in that general vicinity. I mean, the storms aren't going to follow the county lines completely. Some pretty bad stuff in northern Levy, eastern Dixie here, as well with the overall activity. Let me go ahead and see if there's any more questions, comments. So we do have Thomas watching here as well. Just appreciate everybody tuning in, trusting me. Fire Larry Trains, Top Cat, Jason Peters, Rail Adventures, Nair Nix, AJ and Thomas here watching on this Friday. Appreciate you guys tuning on in here, but we do have to kind of talk about this storm here toward Gilchrist County right now. Hopefully the warning will go away as we look ahead toward 6 o'clock. That'd be some great news here as we watch the overall trend. But right now we do have that warning in play for parts of Gilchrist County. As we have areas like Trenton there and Fanning Springs. You see how things have evolved. That movement there of the activity and towards some of these different communities. You can see that overall impact. And in fact, let's go ahead and try something. I'm over at the wall doing this, so it might not be the easiest thing for me to do with this system. We're going to try to put this in 3 dimensions here. We're going to try to put this in 3 dimensions and just kind of watch some of the overall trends. So you see some of these tops here the last little bit. I mean, you can kind of see how, and it's just where I take them sometimes. It might be where it makes it look a little worse. It might not be weakening quite as quick as it looks like on this mode, but you can see how high the tops have been with the activity, which is obviously meaning some very formidable stuff here as we look at the overall scenario. So, and a lot of this stuff's moving west, so we got to be careful. The model that kind of depicted some of this, and this is where we start to maybe, if we see that warning go away, we start to, kind of jump away from that and talk about the future forecast, which a lot of you guys are wanting to know about, as we look here, that future forecast, because I'll go ahead and say some of that to you now with the forecast model. This is, we're Tallahassee, Perry. I'll have to watch some of this, kind of try to pinwheel its way in, but, the overall severe risk, it formally is not, in toward those areas. So that's the good news. We just got to watch the overall trends here on the modeling as things do evolve. So, again, we're tracking things there. Let me see if we're going to drop that warning. Okay, they have sent out a statement now with this service that they're going to expire at 6 p.m. for Gilchrist. The severe thunderstorm which prompted the warning has weakened. Therefore, the warning will be allowed to expire. So, okay, we are watching some stuff starting to grow in toward Columbia County. Let's look at that real quick. We'll get into the formal show here in just a moment, but you can kind of see here, you can kind of see some storm activity around Lake City. There's a strong thunderstorm there. Lake City, over the next few minutes, going to see some deteriorating conditions, it would appear. I mean, they're already seeing pretty rough weather, but as we kind of watch the overall view here, I mean, well, as I watch that skid, it says it's moving southwest, but I think we're, already seeing that deteriorating weather, and it's not going to actually come right into downtown as much as right there. Some busy areas there at points, around Colvin Avenue there, for instance. I mean, it's even busier. Let me pull up our interstate icons so I can see this a little bit better. I-10, you have I-75 in here as we look. I mean, we're, just watching the overall geographic picture, obviously, but there's 441. That's the way I used to go to college, up to I-10 there toward, Tallahassee and the like. But you can see some heavy stuff there. A lot of people go further back, and, there's more population back in here. But, okay, some of that is starting to get in there, but this axis, this wants to take it down here, but it's actually going more westerly. It's just tricky trying to track these storms here. Luckily, there's not much wind with this, thankfully. The algorithms like to track things a little differently. Sometimes when it's, a tropical environment, at least, they get kind of confused by things here. And that's why I was looking like it's headed southwest, but it's really not. So that warning here is going away for Gilchrist at 6. So it's more about the broad picture we need to focus on now. So Dixie County, you guys are getting some pretty nasty action there on Cross City. As we look over and toward that region, you can see areas there around Hines, some heavy rain, some gusty winds. We're just watching things Cross City to Old Town there, and Horseshoe Beach even pretty bad. As we get over and toward that area, they were devastated, of course, by our hurricanes Helene and Idalia. And then you have just things here. Cedar Key, 44, and then 45 with the overall winds here. So, again, just that's some type of different reports that have come on in. So, okay, what we're going to do right now, we're going to go ahead and start off our show. Cloud weather at 5:30, a little bit late, but because we had to track the severe warning to Gilchrist's way, Gilchrist County, some stuff in Georgia there, northern fringes, but it's mainly about Columbia to Gilchrist, southern Swanee, a little bit of Lafayette, a little bit of Taylor, but also into Dixie and Levy County, where we've had a warning in Gilchrist that's expiring. That's the great news, but, still some very nasty weather with a lot of lightning. It probably doesn't seem like it's really coming down that much there in toward the heart of that zone, because some of these areas could and probably are trying to get in those multiple inch type of totals. So, something to really be mindful of here with, just the heavy rain, the high rainfall rates, these efficient rainfall producers. So, you see an advisory out toward Perry till 6:30 and toward Mayo till 6:30, Lafayette County. So we're watching all that out that way. Some of these areas we get closer to where into, in some cases, the hardest hit areas from Helene and Idalia there. So, we'll never forget what happened with Helene and Idalia. Idalia, we thought that would be the worst it could get, and then we had Helene. As I look back at the radar, this is the old radar from 2 years ago, just throwing that up real quick, just to remind everybody here. I mean, it's not a situation where you need a reminder, what happened out there toward those areas back in 2024, toward Perry, toward Madison, toward Horseshoe Beach. But here's what it kind of looked like on the radar back then out that way. There's still, things that, obviously have to be fixed here. So much effort's gone into fixing things, but there's still things that you just, it's so much that happened with all the damage. It's not easy to fix things is where I'm going with that, discussing. So just got to be really mindful of that, obviously, as we look at the overall meteorological story, as we try to keep you guys up to date here on that weather picture. So again, just trying to keep you up to date on everything the best we can. Just trying to keep you guys up to date on everything the best you can. You saw a minute ago correlation coefficient. I had that up because of the situation there where we had, the birds trapped in the eye of the hurricane there with Helene back in, 2024. Just cycling that through here. It's a terrible situation as we look toward that area. So you just hate seeing stuff like that. Nothing like that today, but still pretty scary if you have storm anxiety, of course. Just, remain calm. Everything's going to be all right. But there's a lot of lightning around towards some of these areas here as we're looking over the next little bit. Again, nothing severe. Oh, I spoke too quick. We just got a new warning. So, okay, we just got a new warning. So, let's go ahead. We had the warning go away for Gilchrist. We now got a new warning. So let's dump live back on camera. We were going to go into the formal show, but okay, we got a new warning now. This may be a little more rural than Trenton, but this is a new warning now for parts of Dixie County there, parts of Lafayette County, as we're looking parts of Taylor County until 6:30 p.m. So northwest of Cross City. So let's go ahead and see what this is all about. Okay, so at 6 p.m., severe thunderstorm warning issued for southwestern Lafayette as well as northwestern Dixie and southeastern Taylor counties until 6:30. At 5:59, a severe thunderstorm was located 10 miles northeast of areas there on Steinhatchee, moving northwest at about 5 miles an hour. 60-mile-an-hour wind gust and nickel-sized hail possible there around Steinhatchee, Hines there. Some 60-mile-an-hour wind gust and nickel-sized hail there possible. And we just got another warning now. Okay, we just got another warning for that Lake City storm. It didn't look that impressive except for that one little area on the wind mode, but I guess it was enough to prompt a warning now from the Jacksonville office. So we have 2 warnings now on the board. So let me go ahead and see what we have up here. So this warning now, weather service in Jacksonville issue in here. So let me go ahead and click on this so you see that to kind of stay up on the screen while I'm looking at the information direct from them. So the National Weather Service in Jacksonville has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for west central Columbia County in northern Florida, northeastern Suwannee County, as well as southern Hamilton County until 6:30 p.m. At 6 o'clock, a severe thunderstorm was located near Wellborn or near White Springs, moving west at 15 miles an hour. Lake City, White Springs, Wellborn, 5 Points, Winfield, as well as Swanee Valley, Watertown, and the Houston community. So severe thunderstorm warning now for parts of Columbia, Swanee, and Hamilton counties until 6:30 p.m. So now 2 different areas of concern. I know, some of that power outage information coming out of Gilchrist County, maybe, kind of a little concerned that with the, a fourth of the county in the dark, that maybe these storms are doing, maybe a little bit more of damage towards some of these spots than we can see in the Doppler algorithm. So let's go about Oster radar because that might be a little closer. And it's close, but you can see not overwhelming wind signature, but we have some maybe small hail potential here right near I-10. So right there around, it looks like US 41 and I-10 where those intersect there, we have that potential. So, and we have a lot of lightning, southern Columbia and far northern Gilchrist there. As we keep you guys up to date. You see some of this wind potential. Let's go to the Barron button. You can look for where some of these purples are, even if maybe you don't have as much in the way of hail. This is where the damage potential is highest. Hines and towards southern parts there of Lafayette County. So southern Lafayette. So again, just continuing to give you guys the latest there on Canal Road. And then we have here areas on the north side of Lake City, around Winfield or on Josephine Street here. Maybe some of the highest impact from a severe thunderstorm situation right now as we look in toward this zone here just east of US 41. So, okay, so I'm going to check questions, comments again. It's kind of a tricky situation. I think we're going to give you a little bit of a forecast here and we're just going to kind of bounce back and forth because I don't want, you guys to leave here without a forecast, as it looks like we do have about 10 of you are watching though right now on the different platforms. I mean, we're going to stick with me, but I know some of you guys might not be in these impacted zones. So let me go ahead and give you a quick look. I'll give you the 7-day this way. We'll get into the full show later, but let's just give you the 7-day this way. We are watching the tropics. This is kind of, what's messing with our weather here a little bit, that area of interest toward the Gulf. You can see our 60% chance of rain today at 60% tomorrow. I mean, I probably almost could have bumped it up to 70, but I mean, a lot of our other areas in like Georgia staying dry there, and but then our southern areas, look, it's obviously it's happened 100%, but it's a lot of rain too, impactful weather. But watching the tropics here as we look Saturday, Sunday, Monday, higher rain chances up to 80% on Sunday and Monday here. As we look at the overall situation. So we just need to be very mindful here of that as we give you guys the updates here. And then you start to see things, I'll kind of jump on over and you can kind of see the situation here. A little bit less in the way of rain chances as we look ahead in the timeline, but still going to be there some. But you see Sunday and Monday, the highest on this view. And I need to get to something else, in fact, because it was concerning me a little. It's our most aggressive scenario by far with the tropics. I want to go ahead and make sure people are aware of that because you guys probably have plans on a Friday evening. So I don't want you guys to leave without knowing a little bit about the tropics here if you're not in the impacted areas or not in the impacted severe thunderstorm warning areas. So, we're watching things for all of our 38 counties. And if the HRRR, the 18Z run of the HRRR were to come true, we might have a busy weekend, but a lot of the other models not showing that, but we have some stuff we need to say with our models here. So let me go ahead and got a couple things to show here. So we're going to go ahead and go a little bit into the show. Again, we have our 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. We're not going to, leave you guys from those for long, but we have to kind of give you guys the overview here. It's not a tropical system, yet, or a tropical situation yet, but sometimes we have, active tropical pictures. Like I remember, this is, again, the complete opposite of what this is, but with Helene, we had tornado warnings all over the place, and when we were cutting in for those, we'd kind of jump away and talk about the storm a little during the tornado warnings because we knew people needed to prepare for the actual impact with the surge. This is the opposite. This is nothing like Helene. That was a high-end situation. This is overall a low-end situation, but what I'm about to tell you is the high end of the low end type of threat. This is actually a very aggressive model here. Now, it's still in the storm axis, and now that's why you see these reds here. It's kind of depicting some of those strong and severe storms here. That's what that kind of indicates on the ARRR forecast wind gust graphic. Tomorrow, see some numbers picking up. It doesn't look overwhelming at first. But then as we look toward the Gulf here, you start to see these colors build. Most of our models are not using this type of, type of scenario as what they would expect for, to happen. But this is, and this is actually showing some damaging wind gusts. If you look here, some of these darker reds building in the Gulf there, I'm talking about maybe a tropical storm setting up in this scenario here with what's the ARRR depicted. There's only a 30% chance from the hurricane center. I know we have a lot of the models. The Barron model wasn't showing it. The European model, GFS, they weren't really showing anything definitive. But as I'm going to say on this, it's kind of showing that to you something that's kind of definitive here with some development. So you have some stuff on the periphery tonight that fades away. The heating gets lost tomorrow, not as much here for a while. Then we get pop-ups up toward Tallahassee, some stuff to the east. But then look at Sunday here. As you head into a weekend, this is what's always concerning. This has a formidable, setup here with a tropical storm, maybe Bertha developing here. So we have to be mindful of that. We're not turning the logo red yet because this is the less likely scenario. But if we get the Hurricane Center to declare this as a potential tropical cyclone or something really, pops up in other models as well, then we'll have to really ramp up coverage here. So I don't want you guys getting caught off guard. That's why I thought we better just go ahead and break away talking about the warnings that we have now. Just for a moment, just in case this is the most extreme scenario. This doesn't go out much further than this, but, we would have to watch it for maybe a landfalling tropical storm in 2 days. There's only a 30% chance of development right now, but maybe 2 or 3 days, give or take. In this scenario, technically that's under 48 hours. The models have had trouble with a lot of stuff here lately, to be completely honest. So, I know ARRR is not really for tropical systems, but, we're right there near the coast with the potential development. So it's, looking at the land. I don't know if this will, if we'll have anything like this, but I just wanted to throw this to you, in terms of, throw this out to you. I'm saying, in terms of we're heading to a weekend, you guys are not paying attention. Maybe you don't want to pay attention. You want to just enjoy things. And at least one scenario here is painting the potential. Again, it's the outlier. It's the unlikely situation, but we're 2 days out. We're going into a weekend. I got to tell you guys about this because ARRR, the model I use a lot here. And it's trying to throw a tropical storm maybe developing here out into toward the Gulf. So, again, we could have Bertha. I still would think it's less likely, but it's not impossible here as we update you guys. So, this is Sunday afternoon. It's still on a low. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. Maybe this is just a weak tropical storm. Those wind numbers, those type of gusts, that'd probably still be a weak tropical storm, to be honest. And let me look at our pressure on that because we've had so much going on. I want to see what our pressure is on that here in the ARRR. I have a way to look at that here behind the scenes at that point, one on Friday. So let me go ahead. We'll get back to our warnings here in a moment, but just wanted to make sure we covered this before we got too far along here. It's pretty bad weather around Trenton, and it may not end up being anything like this here. A good chance it won't, but I just don't want you getting caught off guard here going into a weekend. Thinking everything's certainly all right when it may not be, completely. This is nothing like, this is nothing like Helene. This is nothing like Adalia. This is not even like Debbie. This, the 2024 Debbie. This is nothing, like so many bad systems. Probably not even as bad as Elsa was in 2021. It's to be a weak tropical storm. Maybe more like Colin was. But, still we had some tornado warnings. We had some alerts from that. We had some squally weather. We need to alert you guys to the potential here. So, it says 1,004 millibars in ARRR. This is not the NAM model, which I wouldn't really trust. This is the ARRR, which we use a lot here on the air. And at the end of the run, it says 8,004 millibars. That's a tropical storm, a low-end, weak tropical storm, but a tropical storm. If it was maybe, let's say today was Thursday, maybe I'd wait a day to say this to you and assume it's going to fade in the modeling. But we're on a Friday. We know you guys are going into the holiday. Well, okay, not holiday weekend. I don't know anymore. We've been doing this for a month and a half. It's not a holiday weekend, but it's a weekend nonetheless here. In terms of the overall situation, it is a weekend as we're looking here at the overall scenario. And you're still at summertime, so in a way it is a holiday, because school is out for, folks. It'll be starting back soon for folks as we're looking at the overall scenario. But again, we're just going to continue to be keeping you guys up to date, keeping you guys informed here on the overall scenario. So just stay tuned. Don't stress out about it. This is the outlier. This is unlikely. Just wanted to say this to you. We need to get back to our warnings for now. But let me see if there's any questions or comments about the tropics real quick. I'll say let's just kind of take it out of the play mode. I know, as we look here, current type of mode there, and then we'll go over to the actual formidable, type of graphic here in terms of just, it breaks things down in a simplified way. So, 30% chance right now is, something that's really helpful, really well organized is what I'm trying to say. So let me go ahead and see here. Is there any more questions, comments? Don't see anybody here right now with anything new, but okay, we're going to go back to the warnings now. So that's the tropical talk for now. We'll talk more about that later, but we have a couple warnings we need to track here as we look at the overall picture. So let's go ahead and get here toward I-10 as we look here toward the interstate and I-75 as well. Maybe some damaging wind potential here with this severe thunderstorm warning as we look at the overall scenario here. So at 6:01 there, severe thunderstorm warning issued for areas there of west central Columbia County, northeastern Suwannee County, southern Hamilton County. Until 6:30 p.m., a severe thunderstorm was located near Wellborn or near White Springs, moving west at 15 miles an hour. Lake City, White Springs, Wellborn here, as well as 5 Points, Winfield, as well as Suwannee Valley there, Watertown, Houston under this warning. So again, watching that, I know we're getting an uptick in some of our signals on the stuff there northwest across city. I mean, not that there would be much hail in there, but our system's so hail well over an inch. I don't think that's the case, but what this is Tallahassee talking about nickel-size hail. Nickel-size hail as we look to the south. Let's look down here. Let's look down here real quick. We're looking at the overall situation here. I mean, it shows it up there over an inch, but that's a pretty rural area, and we're far from the radar site. So it's looking at the taller, type of stuff here in terms of we're not looking, low down. We're the lowest we can get here with the beam, 9,000 feet from this radar. Now let me check. Tallahassee may be closer to this point. Okay, yeah, it is. This area, 6,000 feet there. How about Valdosta? Okay, 6,000 as well. So I know sometimes, Gilchrist is Jacksonville office. This is Tallahassee, so we are a little closer with this. So let's look at it over this way then. With this beam here. It's very rural out here. We're northwest across city, south of Mayo there. 36 with the wind. Let's put the bearing button back on. It's still showing those, indications of maybe some hail in there. Even, 6,000 feet, still pretty high up to be the lowest you can get with the Doppler radar beam. So that's something to kind of bear in mind here as we're looking at the overall situation, as we're monitoring things here, as we're keeping you guys informed. So again, just trying to update you here the best we can. We're just trying to update you guys the best we can here with the overall situation. So again, severe thunderstorm warnings, a couple of them on the board here right now. Let me go ahead and have the one that's for parts of Dixie, and that's a Fayette there, but then here is Taylor, and here's Dixie. And then as we get to the north, we have parts of Suwannee, parts of Columbia there. Some stuff coming out in towards southeastern Georgia there. As we look with the Doppler algorithms, you can kind of see there east of Patterson. So again, east of Patterson, this is, Wayne's out of our area, but then going down 301 into toward parts of Pearson, Brantley, we have an advisory for some of these areas right now. So Pierce, Brantley there, those two counties in play right now as we're looking at things and as we're monitoring them. Okay, so we need to be Tallahassee radar now for this one down here or Valdosta. They're about the same distance. Definitely maybe some hail in there around Hines Highway, around Northwest 586th Street there. Then in toward Lake City. We'll try Valdosta radar. I know up here with the radar, this is the Valdosta one. It's only about 3,000 feet up on the view there, but this one's about 4,000 feet from Jacksonville now. So maybe a little bit of hail right over I-10. It's not overwhelming. I would pull the camera up, but it's not overwhelming in terms of the signature right now. But just going to continue to keep you guys up to date here on the very latest information. So, again, just trying to keep you up to date here as things evolve. Let's power outage numbers again. Yeah, look at that. Gilchrist County, but even Lafayette County there. 16% of the customers now in it. Right, that's kind of why I'm taking, so much time to cover this area didn't get hit, by the severe thunderstorm, warnings is much. Granted, we're pretty far from the radar out there. We get hit, we've been hit lately by a lot of tropical systems. Some of the areas getting hit hard. Even just, toward like Taylor, in terms of the broad breath, a little harder. I mean, not comparing to Dixie. Dixie got hit harder than, about anybody at Horse Beach and the like. But my point being, with just the overall inland impact, Gilchrist didn't get quite as much of the focus as maybe Madison and Lafayette counties. So, again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here as we look at the overall scenario. Again, trying to update you. I know, just trying to monitor things. Just being mindful. I know we actually had a light go out here in the studio as we were looking at things late Wednesday, but able to get that fixed here. I got that fixed here this morning. So it's kind of interesting time, and we were already not going to have a show yesterday, so it worked out really good. But able to get that fixed. The light might be just a little bit different today if you guys are really paying attention here. But it's light that's been in here a long time, and I knew it'd probably go out eventually, and it did go out. So, it's just the overall, it's called the ballast and the light. But I know that's too much information for you guys out there at home probably. But anyway, that's been fixed now. So at least you can see me in front of the wall here. If I would have had to do so last night in front of the wall, you wouldn't have been able to see me very well. It'd been pretty dark in here because of the way the lights are. But anyway, back to the Doppler radar. Just appreciate everybody here tuning on, interest in me here on this Friday. As we give you guys the latest. I've been very busy, obviously, and just appreciate everybody here watching as I give you guys the very latest. I know thanks to the folks that fixed the light here this morning as well, if they happen to be watching. But again, just trying to give you guys the very latest here. We do have severe warnings. It's just that we're kind of saying the same stuff over and over here at this point. I may start to go back into the show here if I don't see anything that really stands out here too much in just a moment. But let's go ahead. You can see west of Lake City, 17 one way with the wind, 16 the other way. I-10 area impacting that evening commute. Maybe if you're traveling, something like that. As we look into toward northwestern parts of Dixie County there, you see, yeah, that's pretty impressive. That's headed into parts of Lafayette County and Taylor. That's a really rural area down there, though. So that looks pretty impressive, but it's rural, very, very rural. And then this warning just went away. So with that being said, we're gonna jump back to trying to get into the show now, and I'm gonna keep monitoring this storm. If we get another warning, this one goes till 6:30. We'll come back to it, but that's very rural out there. Even though it does look impactful, we're not even, Trenton's pretty populated. There's not really a populated town in here. I mean, with the worst of this. I mean, I get down in here, you see, seen Hattie, but they're not getting the worst of it. The worst of it here is, in the ward areas there in northwestern parts of Dixie County, north of US 19 generally. So we're going to monitor that. There's a lot of lightning whenever thunder wards go indoors. But right now, let me go ahead and we're going to jump into the show here. We're still watching that warning for parts of Dixie County as well as parts of Taylor there and Lafayette. So let me go ahead and let's get into the full show now. So we'll go ahead and jump into those graphics with that one warning in the more popular area. Gone. The other is a storm that looks formidable. I mean, if it had a tornado warning or something, we'd stay with it, even if it was, a very low population number like 0, 1. But, we're going to jump to the formal show right now because we are watching tropics. That's part of the, overall meteorological storyline is the tropical picture. This area that we're going to be watching out here, as we look into the weekend more so, that's causing some of the storm action now, 30% chance of development. So just need to continue to stay tuned. I see there's a warning, by the way, Melbourne office being, they're issuing one down that way now, but that is way, way, way south of our area. I mean, St. Lucie County. It's just that county does border on our area. So, that Weather Service office does border on our area. So that's why I was checking on that information. So, okay. So in terms of those temperatures so far for today, 97 Bainbridge, it got hot. We're down to 76 degrees to start now. A lot of cloud cover, just storm action in the vicinity. We got a 97, we're down to 76, even though we really haven't had rain here That's a storyline for sure. Just with the overall, I mean, it is dark out there. There's storms, down toward the south there. As we're looking at the overall picture, and we've been tracking on the Doppler here for you. Been trying to keep you guys up to date here. A lot of rain down there, but not so much further up toward the north here. We had some rain, and I mean, just south of Stark. Maybe the south side of Stark even got a good little bit, but Hampton got about 1/4 of an inch. But east, Stark here, not really much sun up on the totals, but it did, put a dent in those temperatures down over 20 degrees right now with the current temperature reading. You can kind of see that on this graphic. Kind of see that very well, in fact, as you see the differences. 75 Stark, 76 Gainesville, 73 Ocala, 73 over toward Palatka there. So kind of telling that story. I mean, you can just see the color table here. They're putting a dent here into toward these temperatures. It's a little bit of cooler type of readings. I mean, obviously, where we've had the storm accent, it makes a lot of sense. But it's just interesting. We really haven't had any around where I'm at, and yet we're down 20 degrees from our high here. So that's kind of interesting to take note of. And then as we look here at things in terms of heat indexes, I mean, it's a lot, hotter toward Tallahassee, how it feels, Thomasville, Homerville, Waycross there compared to Stark and Gainesville and Ocala. I mean, some of these areas, again, getting a lot of rain. We really didn't right here. The south side of Stark got a good bit, but, when you're looking right, maybe just as far southern Stark addresses, I'm saying. But, it changes quick. I mean, last night we were tracking a storm around Laurie. It had quite a bit of lightning. Strong storm, and it really didn't even rain hardly any rain towards Stark, just a few miles south. So that's how things can be in summertime. And then with those dew point values here, you can see those this muggy type of readings of that tropical moisture in play. The wind gusts, we've still seen some gusty winds in the vicinity here. And again, we're just going to be watching that area in the Gulf. And again, this is what I was telling you guys a little while ago, but I'll show it to you again if you're just tuning in, because this is a very aggressive scenario. It's the unlikely scenario, but I won't rule it out. Going into a weekend here like this, we cannot. I mean, this the very prestigious meteorologist Brian Norcross. Granted, this is nothing like Hurricane Andrew was in 1992, but it was a Friday evening. He wanted to make sure everybody was warned on that Friday evening going into the weekend about Hurricane Andrew. This is nothing like that. This is not going to become a hurricane as we're looking here. But, we just want to let you know there's some type of at least potential going into the weekend here. As we're looking at this scenario. Obviously Andrew was disastrous down there, and that's why it was so, really important he gave that warning, because, didn't have the internet back then. People wanted to enjoy the weekend. It hit before, the Monday morning commute. I mean, it was late Sunday night when it made landfall down there in South Florida around Homestead there in 1992. So, that's why he became such, and has become such a legend here in the meteorology community, because he gave that warning on a Friday night. This is nothing like that storm, but I'm just giving you the heads up that we're seeing some trends here that are kind of concerning with the HRRR. This is just run. I don't think it's going to happen. This is the outlier, but this shows maybe some tropical potential out here. You'll see it on this view as well. We've had the storm accent tonight here in the overall pattern, and then you'll see some stuff here that's quiet for a while, but then we're going to be watching toward the Gulf. I mean, you see some stuff on the periphery, but then you see we have something developing, maybe a weak tropical storm. 1,004 millibars is what it was on the HRRR. That's a weak tropical storm. It's not a big deal, but you just got to pay attention here. As we're looking at this, as we look toward the Gulf there with some potential development with the overall meteorology. So just got to be paying attention there. And we're updating you guys the, best we can here. With the overall scenario. This shows a tropical storm. I mean, you can kind of tell here, it does not mean it's going to happen like that, but we just have to just be aware. A lot of the other models are not showing this. You just got to pay attention, though, is what I'm saying here. And as we look toward lightning safety, just whenever thunder roars, go indoors. Lightning can strike miles away from a parent storm here because we have that accent on the periphery. It's a different opinion here. This is the Baron 3K. And it doesn't, so too much after a while tonight. Tomorrow you see some stuff developing, spiraling around, but there's not much organization. There's not a concise, center of circulation. I mean, Sunday night, you see how things are just really disorganized still. And then in the word Monday, maybe a low in here, but, nothing that's really overwhelming here. So it's not, a formidable tropical low. Granted, if we had a formidable tropical low and it was meandering around like what this is showing, that could be problematic with the higher rainfall totals. HRRR only goes out 48 hours, so we don't know what that's going to show. But the rain chances are high. You see 60% tomorrow, 80% for Sunday, 80% for Monday. Okay, we just got a new warning, so let's go ahead and go back to that. So, okay, new warning now. We got a new severe thunderstorm warning. Okay, for parts of Dixie, Lafayette, and Taylor counties until 7. Okay, at 6:23, a severe thunderstorm was located at 11 miles northeast of Steinhatchee and nearly stationary. We're talking about 60-mile-an-hour wind gust and penny-sized hail. Steinhatchee there, as well as Jonesboro. Again, over Ward Clara there. So, severe thunderstorm warning in the Steinhatchee area, Lafayette, parts of Dixie, parts of Taylor counties until 7 p.m. It's a pretty similar area, to be completely honest with you. Again, pretty low population in here. Let me check what my one source is showing for that population count, in fact. Okay, let's see how many in the Polygon here in Tallahassee office. Okay, 1,418 in the box. Only one school, no hospitals. So, okay, we had to just kind of talk about this area, and there was, maybe nothing else going on. I would kind of maybe stay with it a little more, but it's a rural area. It still is impactful. We still got to be careful down here. Let me zoom in a little bit. We'll go back to the full show here in a moment, but you can see from Salem to Cook's Hammock there, you have, areas there like Jonesboro. I think that's Tenelle, how you pronounce that. As much as we've covered with tropical systems out here, I should know by now, but Tenelle, I believe how you pronounce that community. But again, only about 1,000 or so, just a little over 1,000, the whole box there, till 7 p.m. with our new severe thunderstorm warning. So, again, see our other box on there as well as we're looking at the overall meteorology. So, this is west of Cross City, southwest of Branford, south of Mayo, and southeast of Perry. So, okay, we're going to keep our eyes on that. Let's get back to the full show then. Well, let me just see if there's any questions, comments real quick though before I do that. Again, I appreciate everybody tuning in here on a Friday night. Appreciate everybody tuning on in here. Appreciate the viewership here. I know viewer there in Spanish with a comment. I don't know Spanish too well, unfortunately, but just appreciate everybody tuning in here, trusting me on this Friday evening. So let me go ahead and we'll jump back on over here to our other mode. We're going to go ahead and say here again the rain chances. You can see how they do drop down eventually, but they're still a little uncertain at 50% because we're not sure what's going to happen. With the forecast, we're not even sure what's going to happen on Sunday. So I don't want to, focus on the days at the end of this as much. We just need to focus on what's going to happen earlier on. I mean, a lot of the models are not going with a whole bunch of rain, but if HRRR came true like that, which again, it's not a tropical model, but models have not done well lately anyway. Things right near the coast, we got to be careful. I'm going to check, we're on the fly here with this. I'm just going to check the 18Z GFS here to see what is showing behind the scenes that's been coming out since we've been on. It has a spin, but it's not really showing a lot of organization out there in the Gulf. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll be monitoring things. We'll be paying attention as we look at the overall situation. Okay, so, but rain, that chance of staying high. This is a European rainfall forecast totals map. It's not showing anything really impressive. That's the thing. We have the different conflicting information here, which, this is more likely to happen, but HRRR is something we like to use in the short term in little areas that can evolve. We've had it with like Colin, in 2016, things can happen just all of a sudden. You get those developments, and then, things are enhanced a lot more than this. It's showing here. So we'll just have to pay attention. And that's only showing an end through next Thursday, but we could have way more, some areas even without a development, tropically. But next name is Bertha here. So we'll be paying attention to that. Nationally, broaden that view out here. You can kind of see it. Maybe I'll kind of jump on over a little bit, maybe. Let me I'll back up just a tad bit because there's a warning down here is what I'm trying to say, you guys. But, we have our warning, our very rural area, and we have just scattering acts, and I know there's been some flash flood warnings in Ward, Tennessee today up there as we're looking at the overall mapping, and then the temperature storyline. You can kind of see, Atlanta's a little cool, Stark's a little cool. We've had all that smoke and, just poor air quality up north. They're concerned about that World Cup match there on Sunday up toward the northeast because of some of that poor air quality with the overall this issues I know coming in there with the overall storyline here in the ward, the North America region. As we go ahead and look here at the drought monitor, though, we still have that drought here toward Gainesville, toward Cross City, Perry, Cedar Key. You have the extreme drought here in play. So just need more rainfall, believe it or not, even though we have like a warning in part of this area right now. We're getting some of that rain, maybe a little too much at points in the short term, but we need the rain in the long term. Not really getting enough, as further off toward the east, but we're also getting lightning, which is a cause for concern, and that can sometimes cause some brush fires to, really occur there if we're not, getting the rain right over this area. Some of those spots are getting that rain right now, as I've shown you though in the Doppler, but you can see we are below what we need over the last 30 days in many spots now. So Waycross kind of the exception, in terms of something that stands out a little bit more. Live Oak, Madison, Perry there. You see 100 to 200% there. You see folks in St. Mary's, Brunswick, Jacksonville. In terms of the overall story, they're a little bit at or over what we need. But again, just continuing to track the very latest information here as things do evolve. And in fact, let me go ahead. We're going to jump back on over to that warning here. Let's give you another update. On the warning. We'll go back to the show here in a moment. But severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Taylor, parts of Lafayette, parts of Dixie 07. It's a very rural area. And I continue to allude to here as I update you guys the best I can. Okay, so, and that's a weird look there. A couple weird things about that. I don't know what happened to velocity there. Let's check from the other radar, but there's a little bit of spin. That was one thing. There's a little bit of a notch here, too, right here in southern Taylor County. We have that tropical spin. It's right on the end of the warning. Let's check. I think there's something a little off with the Tallahassee radar view of the colors, but I don't know. That spin might still be legitimate. I'm kind of seeing it in the other radar scan, too. So far away. We're 5,000 feet up. Southern parts of Taylor County there. Again, this is down US 19. You have areas there around Perry, but this is getting pretty far south. Right on the Lafayette County line with Dixie and Taylor, maybe, pretty much. More so just Taylor and Lafayette, because, Dixie is a few miles down, but it's still rural. We're not getting much to pop up in terms of the city areas. There's just some weak rotation there, little knots and little, you saw it in our other source there. Granted, there's a little something wrong with the velocity, but, in terms of the colors, these are probably, there's something wrong with that. Ignore those numbers. But I think that spin there might be onto something just a little bit. So we'll watch that. We have the formidable, storm action down here, the warning in play as we get down here near US 19, northwest of Cross City. So we'll keep watching that here. We'll keep tracking that. So let's go back into show mode now again, continuing to give you guys the latest on things. We still need rain, even though we're talking about some severe weather. But the almanac for Gainesville today, they didn't actually have any miserable rain at Gainesville Airport, despite stuff all around. Only 4 degrees off the record high from 1899. Interesting year 1899 was, because we had the state record low set earlier that year in 1899 toward Tallahassee. It was negative 2 degrees. They had snow up there toward Tallahassee. That was a big deal. Well, today in 1899 on the 17th of July, got all the way to 99 degrees though. So, up and down with some of those temperature trends there, and then, just the temperature storyline. But 76 there in the morning, well above that record low of 64, a little above average overall, and same for Tallahassee, a little above average, 5 degrees off the record high of 100 back in 1913, and in 1987 there, 10 degrees higher than the record low. So, above average for sure. This time of year don't jump around as much, so. Closer to the record highs than the record lows, but not quite at either, just a little above average, really, is what the overall storyline is with that. But as we look this evening into the night, showers and thunderstorms here, cloudy, the storyline that points to as things evolve, as we do get some of that clearing toward the east. For a while, you saw it in some of the modeling, but as we look here toward tomorrow's low temperatures, you see 74 degrees, just kind of muggy feel still. As we look, swampy feel. And then as you see here, those low temperatures, this is that swampy feel like we always kind of get around here, unfortunately, as we look toward our area this time of year. 74 Stark, 73 Gainesville, 79 towards Cedar Key there, as we're looking at the overall mapping. So, again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here on things. 74 Palm Coast, it's just not fun out there with those type of temperature readings for sure. So let me see if there's any more questions, comments here on this Friday. Not seeing any right now, but gonna go ahead and go back into the high temperatures now. 93 there. It's gonna be pretty warm, but then we'll have some storm development as I was alluding to that we'll be paying attention to. But the heat indexes will still get high before you get some of those storms in there. I mean, we got kind of hot today, into the 90s here on Stark before the storms came on in. As I'm looking at them at the thermometer here, just seeing how we got up into those 90-degree type of readings, 90 plus there. As I keep looking at my big board, if there's any new information here locally, but you can see those heat index values here. Just the overall story there, still at 7:30 Sunday, still pretty hot, but kind of varies a little, here spot to spot. It really depends on the tropics, because if we were to get a tropical system to evolve, this would kind of change these temperature stories pretty good bit with the way the cloud cover would set up, things like that. But if you're going out to the beach there, just watch out with the rip currents. Just a strong current of water moving away from the shore there. You just got to be very careful, because you got to use that escape route there if you do get caught up in it. But you don't want to be caught up in one of these situations. Just whenever thunder roars, going towards the lightning. And then here's that 7-day forecast. Just watching the tropics here. We were showing you a little hint of this. Excuse me. We were showing you a little hint of this here a moment, or two, I guess, ago at this point, because we've been talking for severe for a while. But, we were showing this a little while ago, watching the tropics. So, and you can kind of see the rain chances 80% Sunday, Monday, 50% there Tuesday, Wednesday, though, going down some, but a little uncertain there overall. And you can kind of see, as we look Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday there, 50% in terms of the overall rain chances. So, again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here on things the best we can. Trying to keep you guys informed here on the very latest information here meteorologically. Let's go back to see about the latest on that warning situation then. But again, we will be watching the tropics, and if we have to turn that logo red, we will. We'll do it, immediately if I see that threat really increase here. But the Hurricane Center, let me just check their information again. It's just a one-man band, so make sure nothing new. Still 30% chances, granted. We'll get a new update within about an hour on that. Hopefully we're still not on in an hour with just severe thunderstorm warning. If that warning were to go away, then we'll wrap here, pretty shortly after. But we still got one on the board right now, so. Oh, we got another one on the board, in fact. It just popped up on that system up here now. So, okay, so we got a new warning, the 7:15 for parts of Taylor, Lafayette, and, just that overall area. This does include Perry, though. Does include Perry. No tornado possible tag. We saw that weak rotation I was talking about a moment ago, but western Lafayette as well as northeastern Taylor County. It's a little more populated now. Perry and Mayo both under those communities. So 7:15 at 6:38, a severe thunderstorm was located 10 miles southwest of Mayo there, or, just really in that vicinity, moving northwest at 15 miles an hour. So 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, quarter size. Hail, Mayo, Perry, the two most populated areas. Let me see where Mayo is on here on this map. There's Mayo, there's Perry. As we look at the situation, they're now under a warning. And let's check velocity. I mean, there's some wind enhancement in here for sure. That's really significant, honestly, to be that far from the radar like that. So, again, just continuing to watch things here. I mean, we're looking about, okay, that's 4,000, 5,000 feet up. And then that radar is closer, but there's been some issues with that radar, though that honestly kind of looks a little suspicious there. I mean, it's right on the edge, but it looks like a little weak rotation to me in toward that area there around Carver. Let me check another radar I'm a little more accustomed to looking at here looking at over the years with. I have it up right here on my laptop. This is what I was streaming off of earlier, by the way, in our backup system. But looking at some of my sources here, that's what's kind of below me out of the camera view. But I'm going to check. I mean, it's really muddied in there. When I look, some of these pixels are. Let me check Vidasta. Just checking some stuff. It's not showing it near as much. There must just be some anomalies with that radar too causing that. I mean, it says a little bit of something. A lot of wind, here and there though. It's a tropical setup, and some weird signals were further away from the radar, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on for sure. But enough for a severe thunderstorm warning there toward Perry, toward parts of Lafayette County around Mayo there till 7:15. So I just need to be cognizant here of these conditions. You see a lot of lightning further off toward the east there and toward parts of Suwannee County. So again, looking there at the overall threat, you see up toward White Springs there. Just continuing to watch the situation up there. We also have some storm development now in towards southwestern Georgia. Let's go to Tallahassee's radar for this. Let me get in here with this, and you can see some stuff there evolving toward the Bainbridge area now, moving in from the north to the south as we get toward parts of Decatur County. So I have to just kind of watch the trends up there, see how things evolve on us here as we look ahead and toward the timeline. So again, just continuing to track everything. Have a warning in central Georgia. And I mean, you have some stormy stuff. Nashville's had, at least south and west, there's some flash flooding concerned up there. Around Atlanta as well. Northeast side, it looked like. And at least glancing, let me double check Atlanta, make sure. Flooding over some lanes there. It's not what you want to see, but let's go ahead and get back on in here toward our radar. There's a lot of light in that small area there. I'm really far up on here. Let me just check some stuff though. And then I'm going to check another source. Okay, instability, a few thousand joules per kilogram. There's even some rotational parameters right on the edge of some supercell composite values sent up or just away from some significant tornado parameters even. So that's why I'm wondering if there's a little bit of spin going on in here. We saw our shear marker so up, but there's been some anomalies on the radar. We're pretty far away. I just wonder if there's like, a little spin up tornado, chance in here. There's no warning for it. It's probably not happening, but I don't want to sound too aggressive here. But, there's at least just some different signals in the radar that are a little bit interesting. West of Cook's Hammock there as we're looking at the overall Doppler radar algorithms. So again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here as we look. I mean, we're so far on the radar site, so it makes things so hard to tell. It's a pretty rural area overall. Southwest of Mayo there around these, names here. We have County Road 251. We have Chicken Pin Road there. Ironically, it's talking about the rural nature and that kind of, that kind of name kind of reminds you of a more rural nature there. South State Road 51, South Canal Road, Jones Road there, Thomas Spur Road. So, but again, the concern is it's going to, these, enhanced lightning is going to get into more populated areas. Mayo's on the edge. This may be more of a Perry issue. Let's check here. It's more maybe more of a Perry issue. Okay, moving northwest at 15 miles an hour. Moving northwest at 15. 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, quarter size hail. It's 89 degrees there in Perry right now, but okay, Perry by 7:35 based on that, just kind of assessment there. Let's go to a different mode of this. You can see areas there around Penland there on 711. So, the airport Perry's a little bit southeast kind of, so they might get into it before 7:30, give or take, but this just kind of gives you an idea of some that could be in the path here of this severe thunderstorm warning situation as we're looking toward parts of the coverage area right now. So, again, just trying to keep you guys informed here the best we can as we're watching out for those 38 counties here. Just trying to keep you up to date. Trying to keep you informed. Appreciate everybody tuning on in here on this Friday. Just appreciate your viewership here as we look at the overall information. Gonna come back on camera here again. We're watching this warning. Have lightning here east of Live Oak there, west of White Springs, around I-10. But then southwest of Mayo, you have some of this more enhanced lighting. I mean, to get really tight in here, and I'll tilt this, but you have 103 strikes, 147 strikes even just in this frame last 15 minutes. I mean, I'll get back in. It's a lot of lighting for a pretty small geographic area. So just got to be mindful of that. And you know, as we look throughout the evening, looking at our forecast model, we're going to pull that back on in here. You can see how we have things kind of spiral around and then fade, but then we'll be watching again in towards Saturday. It may not show it here, but you can see this here as it progresses the next few hours. It should fade eventually as it gets north and west there with the motion, but we'll just continue to watch the trends. And I'm just continuing to update you. You know, we have all that lightning around, though. Just whenever thunder roars, you want to go indoors. Lightning can strike miles away from a parent storm. Now, as we're looking at things, as we're updating you, we're trying to be very mindful here of the overall scenario. Trying to be very mindful. I know one thing, we talk about, you know, really low end tornado threat today, but we'll just have to watch. If we were to get a tropical system to evolve, we'll have to just see how things evolve, like around west central Florida into, you know, up the nature coast into ward areas there, north central Florida, like on Sunday, if we were to get a tropical spin in that northeastern quadrant. So, you know what, we're going to see, you're thinking about that. We're just going to, I don't think it's going to, you know, evolve like that. The H report, really aggressive though. So we'll go ahead and remind you at least those tornado safety tips here. Just to remember, you know, when you have a tornado situation, you want to get an interior room on the lowest level. You know, it's just always the safest option for any home, like in a bathroom there, like what you can see on this visual here, you know, on that visual. So, again, I'm just trying to keep you guys up to date here. You know, closet, bathroom, something along those lines, your best option for tornado safety. So, if that, you know, starts to arise a little bit, we'll see. Again, H-Trouble has been very aggressive with some of this, and just want to, you know, kind of give you all the tools you need. I mean, we'll be here with you as needed, but, you know, as you're going into a weekend, you might not be paying attention as much. I just want to at least give you a heads up that something's a little bit, you know, noteworthy maybe going on. It's not an overwhelming situation. If it was, we'd have that logo red. I mean, even if it's not overwhelming, quote unquote, even if it's pretty impactful in terms of, you know, even just a low-end tropical storm, we would have everything red here. And if that starts to look like it's going to become, you know, more likely, we start to see those probabilities go 40, 50, 60% from the hurricane center, and that's where we go. Speaking of all that, let's get a satellite. I know the satellites have had problems here lately, you know, but let's try to pull up some satellite imagery. So let me go ahead and do that. I mean, we have the one we can pull. I know we've actually had some internet work done. I talked about it earlier this afternoon. I mean, just in the region, not for us necessarily, but just been upgrades here in the overall area. As I look at my board, if there's anything new, don't see anything new right now, but just continuing to give you guys the very latest on things. But, you know, just trying to update you guys the best we can here with the overall scenario meteorologically. But some internet upgrades. So it's, you know, internet was down some on the Baron computer, so the satellite's going to cut in and out some anyway. There's already been problems otherwise, you know, just satellite in general, not anything to do with internet in my area, but, you know, there's been upgrades here as we look just in the overall picture here, you know, toward this area, and they're still going to be ongoing next week, apparently. So, you know, we had to be on a backup system a little bit. So that's why some of these satellite frames go away for a little bit in here. Look kind of weird, but so that's the storyline. You see some convection. It didn't really look like a lot there, but let's go to some other modes here. Let's see what we have. We're almost dark, so it's going to be hard to show some of this with it, you know, but they have a lot of moisture and the water vapor, that's for sure. And that moisture level in the upper levels here, the upper levels, we have to be cognizant, you know, of just, you know, the higher precipitable water values. So something to kind of be mindful of here for sure. You can see the IR here. You have marine warning in play too with some thunderstorm accent out there, but this is, you know, a way it shows it. I mean, it looks, you know, if I know about the tropics, you know, and I know this doesn't look too bad, but if you didn't know, you'd kind of be more concerned, think it's like it's about to make landfall or something. No, nothing like that, but, you know, nothing like that. But, you know, there is some buildup here, you know, with the storm acts and these cloud tops that are a little bit on the colder side at points, but not really cold. These are not just, you know, extremely cold cloud tops, but, you know, definitely noteworthy here as we look at the overall scenario. So, I mean, as I say that, you know, just right there over land with our severe thunderstorms, you start to have some colder ones. I mean, in Taylor and Lafayette, this is a different color table that I'm used to, but this stuff out here is not just, something that's overwhelming here within the area. But I know our barometric pressure here is 1,017 millibars right now, so that's pretty high as we're looking here east of Stark, by the way. So again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here on things. Trying to give you guys the very latest on the situation. I mean, again, though, right in the Gulf, we don't have the quarter cloud tops. It's just right, it's really, as we get in here, these are pretty cold. We'll have this thunderstorm because we have that build up here. We have the vertical development, things like that here in play. So let me see if we have any more questions, comments here. Again, just appreciate everybody tuning on in on this Friday evening. We still have these warnings here on the board. So, trying to give you guys the very latest the best we can. Looks like the focus is sipped into the northern warning here with all the lightning. There's a ton of lightning in here. I'll have to see if it holds together for Perry there. See west of Cook's Hammock, east of Salem there. Again, all this electrical energy for sure. See all this lightning east of Swanee, or east of Live Oak there in Swanee County. Just whenever thunder roars, go indoors. That's a lot of lightning. It's moving off toward the west and the northwest here. As we look at the situation. Surprised we haven't seen, I don't see flood advisories on here. Let me double check to make sure that, maybe, I missed something on that. But no flood advisories there. Let's just go ahead and check here. In our hydro mode at 3-hour rainfall rate. And let me check let's do it off the Valdosta. 2 inches there, northwestern Dixie, parts of northern Gilchrist, 2 inches, Levy, 2 inches or so, but you get further out, I mean, only a third of it, and some of this kind of gets behind me a little bit, further away, too far from the radar, but some areas a couple inches there, and then, other areas, again, not much at all. As we look and as we watch, as we just update you guys here the best we can. So, again, as the thunderstorm warnings in play, this focus is this area here. It's very rural. I mean, that's why we went into the whole show like we did, because it's over a very sparsely populated area. But southwest of San Pedro Junction, west of Cook's Hammock, east of Carver, around Salem there. Our wind motor and velocities are kind of messed up. The values are kind of messed up right now. But you see, some of these this hail potential here. Some of these magentas kind of lending themselves to that. And then let's just remind you guys here of another thing, and that's your 7-day forecast. So let's go ahead and kind of pull that on up here. Watching the tropics as we look in the days ahead with the overall situation. 93 Saturday, 91 Sunday, 92 on Monday. It starts to warm back up a little as the clouds kind of break some, but we're going to have to pay attention to the tropics as we look ahead, whether we have anything, involving with, if we were to have anything like Bertha or not, still uncertain, but we'll just be here to watch things the best we can. This is just that short-term futurecast here. Maybe a little bit of shower action in the night. And then let's go over to the power outage information. So we'll go ahead and jump on over that right now. And you can see, look at those outages there. There were parts of Lafayette, parts of Gilchrist there, a little bit of Swanee, in terms of, that's a county that's pretty, populated with Live Oak, and pretty high number too. So let's go ahead and look at some of these numbers a different way. This is why we've kind of been spending a lot of time on, we were spending a lot of time on Gilchrist, for instance, and, a good bit of time, even if it's really less populated, no populated out in some of these spots. Let's go ahead and look at the currents. We're going to go over to county power outage total. So we have, in terms of the outages, Alachua County 600, Gilchrist is 2,500, 2,500 in Swanee, 1,000 in Lafayette, 600 in parts of Dixie, and then in Taylor 100 out here in Levy County. Let's not forget about you guys there. You have 800 customers in the dark right now. A lot of lightning in Swanee County, so more population there. So this is a lower percentage, but a lot of lightning whenever thunder roars go indoors. You see 2 distinct areas of lightning there. Eastern areas of Live Oak down in southern Swanee, and then into eastern Taylor, western Lafayette as well. So got a damage report too here out of Dixie County. The Dixie County 911 call center reported trees down on power lines along 297th Avenue in the northern part of Cross City, at least there around 5:50 p.m. And I'm sure we've seen other stories like that, like Gilchrist County there, and in the word maybe Mayo, county, at least maybe not right in Mayo, but just in the word Lafayette County there, as we look down into that region. So again, There's some noteworthy power, outages, and then, some of that storyline kind of crosses over into the damage reports come in because, trees were on power lines, knocked the power out, and that gets you a storm report as well here with the overall information on a graphic. So that's the information there out of Dixie County. The Dixie County 911 call center reported trees down on power lines along 297th Avenue in a Northern Cross City there, as we keep you guys up to date here on the overall storyline. Let's go ahead and see what else we can kind of come up with here. We have these warnings still on the board. You see parts of Suwannee County. A lot of lightning. That's not warned up here necessarily. Not meeting severe criteria. Still some pretty gusty winds down US 129, but I need to switch to other mode because these velocities are not working great right now. There's something weird with the radar signal being so far away, but a lot of lightning in here. 302 strikes last 15 minutes in this frame. That is significant. That is noteworthy. So, just checking our informational board here to see if there's anything new. I know the warning down here, it goes away at 7, but this one, the one we've been focused on, goes to 7:15. Up to see if it gets extended into Ward Perry here the next little bit or not. Moving pretty slow, so we'll see if it holds together that far. I mean, the instability values here. The instability values there, a few thousand joules per kilogram. So still, it's trying to keep you guys up to date on that. So we'll take a quick 60-second break here, 60-second break. And I'll be back here soon with a special coverage of some severe weather here. Extended, very extended edition of Cloud Weather at 5:30 on this Friday. It's finally Friday, but we're going to have a busy weekend to track stuff here. I'll have more in 60 seconds. Obviously, nothing will compare to Helene, with anything like this. I mean, it's nothing compared to that or a Dahlia or even Debbie, but still noteworthy. Let's take a look back at some of our coverage of those events and others here over the last, half decade or so. Some severe weather events, purely severe weather events as well. You even see the also, though, a hybrid event where we had tornadic acts and we were tracking there within, tropical coverage. But we're going to look at that now. I'll be back here in just a moment. In the last half decade or so, our area and the region have been through a lot. Stay safe, but it's going to be memorable. I was there around 4 p.m. to document them. Life-threatening situation here. So, again, that's the storyline there. Oh, I think we just had another power flash. Another power flash. Sometimes Bradford County is a tough spot to see a spin-up tornadoes, so we just want you to go ahead and be inside and away from windows. Can't even completely rule out a quick spin-up tornadoes. The things have started to escalate here. Please take shelter. This is going to cause a lot of damage. Radar-confirmed tornado in southeastern Georgia. We're seeing areas there around Perry. Bear the brunt of this coming into these communities and ravaging them. That's what we got to get you guys out. You got to run from that water. You got to evacuate. You got to follow these orders. This is as serious of a situation I've seen. This is the eye wall. This is where some of the worst of the weather is. When hazardous weather threatens, trust clouds weather. Back here in the Weather Center now. Appreciate you tuning in to our special coverage here of some severe thunderstorm activity looking toward parts of our area. You can definitely see that electrical energy here on the Doppler. Just whenever thunder roars, you need to go indoors, obviously. As we're looking toward parts of southern Taylor County, for instance, just be very mindful there. With all this heavy rain, you definitely want to be, and I'm sure already are indoors, though. As we look towards some of the different spots, as we're looking, you saw the one warning go away, but we still have this more, dominant type of warning here, parts of Taylor, parts of Lafayette, until about 7:15. So just have to be continuing to track things. A lot of power outages being caused down here by this storm activity. So I'm going to go ahead and, just really, again, want to have you guys, send out questions, comments here as we're looking. I know we had Raul there watching a little while ago. Just, again, appreciate everybody tuning on in here and trusting me with the coverage here on this Friday. I mean, just, having to continue to talk here through this because we have this active weather situation towards some of our different zones here. So, again, you can see parts of southern Taylor County, all this lightning, Carver, Salem. Again, just trying to update you guys the best we can. I know. Look at outages in this area again. This is kind of why I'm, not wanting to slack up with coverage here because look at that, 30% of Lafayette County. I know it's unpopulated in parts of it, rural in parts, but 30% of the county in the dark, 25% of Gilchrist County in the dark. little over, 11, really at 11.5% of Suwannee County in the dark there as we're looking out toward that Suwannee River Valley. So again, we have quite a few people without electricity as we're looking at this overall information here. We're looking at this overall story, the overall weather picture. We just need to be very mindful here. This is one way to look at our counties. Let me see the other way here to look at our covered area. Again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here on things with our active weather conditions. They just have to be here for you. Just have to be here for you. As things do evolve, I see we have out toward Decatur County now, Fire Larry Train's commenting in that they're hearing thunder. He's hearing thunder there in toward Bainbridge with dark clouds in toward that area. So again, some of that inclement weather in toward that part of our region. Not severe in nature at this point. You don't see the outages on the map that I was showing a moment ago either. I'll go ahead and come back on camera. We'll see that we don't have the outages there. But let's go ahead and go back to the Doppler view. Let's go ahead and go back over to the Doppler view here. We're going to go ahead and go over to the Tallahassee radar. And you can see some of that electrical energy there around Bainbridge and Decatur County. You can kind of see here some of that lightning. Just got to be careful. Friday night, people trying to enjoy things in the weather as it always does here. It seems like this time of year for parts of our area, at least, it turns inclement. So, got to be mindful. Got to be mindful here as we're looking toward parts of Decatur County. So, just trying to keep you informed. Just trying to update you. So, again, let's look here. We got a wind report. Okay, 55-mile-an-hour gust there in Lafayette County and around Mayo there at 6:45 p.m. So, again, just trying to keep you guys informed. I mean, that's almost the severe limits, right around Mayo there. So that's, pretty noteworthy. I mean, the worst, maybe to the west end of that signal on the Doppler is, let's go to this one because the Tallahassee reader keeps having some issues. But you can kind of see here. We're just trying to keep you informed. 26, 35, 35 miles an hour there. And I mean, it's kind of on the edge. It's really all of a sudden, it's kind of really picked up forward speed there toward Perry, it looks like. Okay, it's really picking up forward speed. So let's go ahead. I mean, just in the last few frames, I mean, let's see what speed they're tracking that at. Okay, still the northwest of 15 was the last update, but let's start getting some cameras up around Perry then. So I should be able to do that from over here because I had some up earlier. So let me go ahead and look from over here. Pull our Florida 511 information on in. And we'll start pulling some cameras up toward parts of Taylor County. Notice it's a one-man band, so got to go ahead and kind of, just trying to pull things up. That's a dark sky. Let's pull this in. Let's go ahead and pull this in here. Get inside around Perry. This is coming in fast now, and you guys, I'm sure the airport out there is getting some stronger winds. So let's go ahead. You can kind of see here. I mean, we thought it'd be a little bit later with that speed, but all of a sudden, we're seeing that formation, seeing the lightning, seeing the dark sky. That's very dark. I'm going to kind of step over here. I know just a little bit as we see the situation, this low-hanging sky, type of views here right now. Low-hanging clouds at points is kind of, I'm looking at my different monitors to see some of them a little bit different brightnesses. So, I want to make sure we don't have anything all of a sudden, get crazy on us here out toward Taylor County as we look out toward the Perry area. I know we look, you think about Helene there, 2024, you think about Adalia in 23. It's, an area that was impacted so hard toward our area. I mean, if you happen to not be from our area, though, maybe it's this, area that you guys are familiar with watching because maybe, there are so many storm chasers that went to Taylor County in 23 and 24 there with the active, weather in the tropics coming on in there. So maybe, just people in the meteorology community familiar with Perry there. And they're about to get a severe storm potentially coming on in. There's a severe thunderstorm warning as we look there until about, now at 8 o'clock. They just extended it. So let's go ahead and see that. We'll come back to the Florida 511 view here in just a moment. So let's go ahead. We just got a new warning here till 8 o'clock as this is, moved in quick here. And now we have Madison into this as well. Have Madison, another hard-hit area there, like Helene, Adalia there, of course, with the tropics. This is, not directly from the tropics in that we don't have anything tropical in nature yet. 30% chance of development, though. That's from what's kind of, helping influence this. But, okay, severe thunderstorm warning there. Lafayette, Taylor, Madison to 8 p.m. at 7:05. Severe thunderstorms are located along a line extending from near Wellborn to 13 miles southeast of Perry, moving north at 25 miles an hour, 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, quarter-size hail, Mayo, Madison, Perry, Greenville, Lee, Pineland, as well as Ebb, Hamburg, Buckville there. You have the airport there in Perry. You have San Pedro Junction, Hampton Springs. You have Sherman. I'm looking at that camera view. Let me go ahead and kind of punch that back on up here as we give you guys the very latest on this now new warning to 8 p.m. all the way through Madison, all the way through Perry here with a severe thunderstorm warning. 60-mile-an-hour winds, the potential of those gusts, and quarter-size hail. So seeing enough instability to help this kind of hold on. We have that, little, spin, that we've been kind of talking about. It's kind of influencing some of the direction, some of the motion here on this activity. So the warning that's popping up there on some of my information. And you can see this is that camera view again, though. As we pull it back here, you see the darker skies. It's kind of telling that weather story here. As we look at the overall view, as we look at the overall information, we're just trying to update you here the best we can as things evolve here. Again, toward Perry, toward Taylor County there, we have a severe thunderstorm warning. Now, a new severe thunderstorm warning that I alluded to 8 p.m. Again, Perry, Madison. You can kind of see the storyline, and this is Perry. This is the view where conditions are deteriorating there with the weather coming in from the south and east, moving into the north, moving to the north and west as we look in toward that area. So, okay, so that was, deteriorating on that camera view. Let me see if there's any others we can pull up, though, to kind of tell that story. And maybe the best one to stick with, or maybe not. Let's go ahead and try this one here. Some ominous skies. Let's go to US 19/98 at US 221/Jefferson Street. I'm going to pull that on in now. And you can kind of see the darker skies. You can kind of see the darker skies there. Coming on into Perry there again in Taylor County. The deteriorating weather conditions there for sure. As we're looking there, severe thunderstorm warning toward Perry. You see us US 221 in Jefferson Street. Here at US 19/98, but we also have other areas being impacted there in town. Davis, East Davis, Walker Road, Carlton Cemetery Road, Puckett Road, East Park Street, Jefferson Street. As I look at some of my mapping here, again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Perry right now. I think a lot of these cameras, these traffic cameras for the Perry area and some of those near the coast out there, they got put up there, or at least they came online around the times, of the tropical systems. Maybe, trying to get a view of that for the, state. Not 100% sure, but it seemed like, got those up and then they haven't come down because they are helpful there. Just giving an eye to the weather situation as we look out towards some of these different areas. As we look out toward like Taylor County there. As we watch the overall view here with the weather scenario. So, again, looking there, US 221 Jefferson Street, that's at US 19/98. The deteriorating weather conditions there. Let me go ahead and move away, though, from this camera view right now. I'm going to move away from this camera view right now. Okay, actually, I look at my other monitor, and I can definitely see that, rain and, blowing sideways some. So let's come back to what we'll go back to what you can kind of see here. It's definitely a little bit rough out there right now. It's a little past that evening commute. It's not quite like high school football season, or maybe people will be going to a game right now. And it'll be delayed with severe weather in the region. But, that's not what we're quite at yet. But just got to be very mindful here. It's the middle of summer, and we have some storm acts in there toward parts of Taylor County. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here, you can see the lines moving around here on the view just a little bit. Nothing like the hurricanes the past, though. This is not a hurricane, it's not a tropical storm. This is just some squally, I guess you could call it, weather here because of what we're watching out there. In part, not completely. There's a lot of lightning here. It's a severe thunderstorm, but you kind of get the idea. I keep looking at our camera views, and folks, unfortunately, getting caught out in this severe thunderstorm toward Perry there, in toward Taylor County. So let me go ahead and jump away from this right now. Go back to the radar. Let's see what else we can pull up on the camera source here around Perry and Ward Taylor County. Checking to see if we have anything new here. And we'll go to the Hampton Springs Avenue area camera. US 19/98 Hampton Springs Avenue in Perry. And you can kind of see these conditions here. These inclement conditions here, these nasty conditions. Folks having to kind of drive out in this here as I give you guys the very latest here on the overall scenario. So again, let me go ahead. We'll keep on looking through some of the cameras. Let me see what else I can kind of come up with. Okay, well, I think we'll just go to the radar view right now and maneuver that around a little bit more. Look at some of the different threats. Some of these are, some of the worst of this is a little bit south of some of the cameras. So the velocity on the Tallahassee's kind of been messing up some, but I see some stuff out here. It looks a little bit, maybe as I tilt it back. Yeah, we're seeing a loss in some of the lightning here because we were almost at 400, and now we're down to about 246. So maybe that kind of enhanced, movement. It's a sign we're going to start to see some decay here. We had a little bit of that. Well, we had a lot of that last night. They were going from cloudy towards dark, but going to keep looking at traffic source though as we watch that movement. This might be maybe for tonight at least. Granted, we are still watching Madison, up in there. Let me check our velocity on this. Yeah, this may end up being, Perry might really be, the last hurrah per se in terms of the severe potential tonight, I hope, as we're looking toward our counties here, as we might be starting to see some decay. We're seeing a loss, a little bit of the daytime heating, a little, more than an hour, close to an hour and a half away from sunset there as we're looking at things. So just trying to keep you updated the best I can. Just trying to keep you informed. Just trying to see what we can pull up on the cameras. Let's go to this one camera view again. Pull this up live. Toward Perry, toward Taylor County there, with the overall weather story. You can see what we're tracking in toward that area there with the overall weather picture. Again, severe thunderstorm warning in play till 8 p.m. So we're just going to keep watching that story for sure. Let me kind of maneuver that off there. We'll check for questions, comments again. Just appreciate everybody tuning on in here on this Friday. Appreciate everybody tuning on in here on this Friday with this special coverage. Seeing my different alerts. Let me see. Did we just get another warning there? I saw a flash. Let me see here. I think we did. Let me double check. Okay, right into the coast they issued a warning now. On Deckley Beach area. You don't normally see a small box like this, but going ahead and extending it all the way out there just to be on the safe side in the Weather Service in Tallahassee. So let me go ahead and read this off to you here. Okay, the National Weather Service in Tallahassee has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for central Taylor County now in the Big Bend of Florida at 8 p.m. At 7:14, severe thunderstorms are located along a line extending from 6 miles northwest of Swanee Springs to 12 miles south of Perry, moving northwest at 35 miles an hour. 60-mile-an-hour wind gust there, quarter-size hail. We're talking about Scanlon and Fish Creek, and areas around Deckley Beach there, and Jackley Island, Keaton Beach, Blue Springs, Cedar Island, Adams Beach there. So, again, the impact of this, though, nothing compared, this severe thunderstorm action, nothing compared to Adalia, nothing compared to Helene, obviously. Nothing compared to Debbie there, nothing compared to even Elsa, for most of you. I mean, there's an isolated spot or two that could get, a little bit of some enhancement in terms of some wind damage, potential some lightning damage. It's a little different. I make this, this kind of grand comparison. And of course, if you had lightning strike your house out of this, maybe it is worse if if you weren't one right at the coast there where things were just completely destroyed with a storm surge. But looking back on Helene again, we'll remind you guys, just how that looked on radar there, that visual there. with historic Hurricane Helene back in 2024. You can just see how that was just coming on through. Just a terrible, terrible situation with Helene there in 2024 as we look out there toward the Big Bend region. Just that overall structure of the hurricane. Talking about some similar areas here being impacted with the overall meteorological storylines. Again, I mean, we're not seeing winds like that, though, coming on through. Nothing like what we had during Helene. We're talking about 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts right now, not what you're seeing on that from Helene. At the most 60 miles an hour. But, Helene was way, way into the triple digits there in some spots as we were looking, on the mapping. And then, just the overall storyline. And you can see that some of that blue in the center, watch it again. Those are actually birds trapped in the eye of Helene there. So, again, just a terrible situation as we were looking out toward the tropics, with that system. Just one we'll never forget, obviously, as we look back out there, looking back in toward the timeline. So, again, just trying to keep you up to date. We're going to come back on camera now. We do have a good number of power outages. We're going to go back. This is old stuff I'm showing you. But talking about it live, but this is live. This is a decent number of power outages, percentage-wise, for granted small population areas of, Gilchrist and Lafayette, but, fourth to a third of customers in the dark right now from what we're seeing out there towards some of these different zones. So Gilchrist County, Lafayette County, just definitely seeing that impact there as we're looking at the overall weather picture, just some significant type of issues in terms of, maybe some trees being knocked on power lines here. Again, it pales, it's weird even talking about Helene in the same sentence because it does not compare to Helene, or Dahlia. It's just the idea that a few spots are getting hit pretty hard. And we got to cover that. I mean, as we're looking at the overall situation. So, again, just appreciate everybody's viewership here this Friday night. I mean, there's other things you could be doing, especially if you're not in the impact zone, but, you're watching here the special coverage here of some severe weather concerns. I know we have folks there. We have viewer watching right now, a storm there, and then we have a fire train talking about the rain toward Bainbridge there, in toward parts of Decatur County. So, again, something we're tracking here with the very latest. You can see there out toward Decatur County. See a little bit of wind enhancement around Attapulgis now. Maybe 40-mile-an-hour winds coming on in there, so we'll have to watch for that. Granted, I know the Tallahassee River has, at this point, I think there, are some pretty strong winds. It's doing a better job now versus with some weird anomalies further away, but I think that's why they send this warning to the coast because of these brighter colors here. These brighter colors here coming on into the picture. So, again, just trying to keep you guys up to date. Now, special weather statement out ahead to 8 o'clock all the way into eastern Leon. As we watch things here very carefully. Again, I think we're, right around Perry. Let's look at velocity from the other view. It doesn't look quite as impressive around Perry itself as it is like Hampton Springs South to the coast here. Deckley beats, Keaton beats there, Fish Creek. That's why they added that warning, I think. That was a great call there by the Tallahassee office. Adding that warning to the coast based on some of these trends. And let's see what we got with this. Augusta 40, but that was earlier. That was almost an hour ago. So, again, a great call by the Weather Service there, adding, that warning there toward the coastal regions till 8 o'clock. So, doing a great job, the National Weather Service there in Tallahassee. As we go ahead and look here. A lot of lightning on the view, that's for sure. See some stuff way across north there, some storm activity that we're looking at here with the Doppler presentation. So, let's go to our 7-day. You can kind of see again, watching the tropics here. Watching the tropics. Just continuing, to pay attention to that. We'll have a new update from the Hurricane Center soon. From them. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm kind of refreshing some stuff behind the scenes to see if we get the we just got the 8 o'clock update. They're still staying at 30%. Okay, we just got the 8 o'clock update. So let's see. I'm going to read this to you verbatim here from the Hurricane Center there in Miami. So, northern Gulf there and near Florida, soured in thunderstorms over the eastern Gulf there on portions of the Florida Peninsula are associated with an upper level low and a surface trough. Surface observations indicate that pressures are high in the area and that currently there are no signs of a surface circulation. That's great news. However, some gradual development of this system is possible while it meanders northward, bringing heavy rain to portions of the Florida west coast during the next several days. So, according to the Hurricane Center, the 8 o'clock update is the formation chance despite what H.R. was so really aggressive. The Hurricane Center says there's only a 10% chance here in the next 48 hours of formation. Only a 10% chance there next 48 hours and only a 30% chance there in the 7-day period. So not going up, staying the same as we had earlier, but it did go up, earlier today from 20 to 30. So we'll still have to be vigilant here, obviously. I'll be watching it very carefully here as we look at the overall situation. So again, now to a 30% chance of development there with the overall tropical picture as we watch things here in terms of that, in the Weather Center. So went from 20% up to 30% earlier on, but not going beyond that here at this point in time. But we'll just continue. We'll continue to give you guys those latest updates here as things do evolve here with the overall meteorological picture, that overall meteorological storyline, and I keep looking at our different monitors here to try to keep you guys up to date. So let's go ahead and just again, we're appreciating you guys watching here. Look like 14 of you watching right now on this Friday. You can, see here, that we have covered on different platforms. It's just all about trying to give you guys the very latest, a very extended edition of Cloud Weather at 5:30, of course. The special coverage here as we're looking at things. We're at almost 7:30, and we're still with you to try to give you guys the very latest here on what is going on with the weather picture. We have this yellow box, a big one. We have another smaller one in play here as well as we look toward the coastal areas. So again, just trying to update you the best we can. See all this wind energy in here, 54, 53, 56 miles an hour. Again, that's significant. Right near the coast there, if that's verifying, that's pretty significant with that severe thunderstorm warning in place. So it's got to be mindful. It's got to be mindful here. County Road 356, Puckett Road there. You see that in there, Spring Warrior Road. You have Dennis Howell Road, Beach Road there. Fish Creek Road and Mainline Road. And some of those different areas being impacted for sure with the overall weather picture. By the overall weather. Let's go to hydro. 3-hour rainfall. Not too much in those areas yet, but it's going to change soon. Look at all these numbers here. Some of this in a good bit less than 3 hours, a few inches here. That's pretty rural out there, but around Trenton, we were talking earlier on, and 2 inches there, 2 inches Chiefland, northern Gilchrist County. Looking there, you see west of Hollinsworth Bluff, as I'm kind of in front of it, but about 2 inches there. So quite a bit of precip, but then as you get out to the east here, you're running around Stark. Some of you did get some rain, but where we're at, and let me make sure I switch that over. Do we have that switched? Let me see. 3 hour. Okay, let's do 6 hour. There we go. So see some rain in the southern side of town, but a lot more in Ward Putnam, but really none in other spots here. As we look at kind of cut off here as we got further up toward the north and east here with the overall mapping. So again, just trying to update you here. Trying to update you the best I can. Trying to give you guys the very latest information. Just trying to be here for you with these hazardous conditions. 53, 48, maybe some damage happening in the northeast spots here. Not maybe quite as much in Perry, still some heavy rain, still some lightning there, and the lightning count has gone down though, luckily. A sign of maybe some decrease in strength here over the last little bit, which is a good sign here as we're looking at the weather scenario. So again, just going to keep watching everything though on the Doppler radar as things do move along. Radar has a mind of its own sometime, but You can see up toward Decatur County. We have that lightning there. Run out of Pogus. Just gonna, kind of keep on watching that. There in the lower parts of Decatur County, a little bit of wind enhancement, maybe wind, in there 25 miles an hour, but it could even be a little stronger than that. Let me click on that again. 32 miles an hour in the lower parts of Decatur County. So again, just trying to update you the best we can here as we look at this scenario. So just trying to watch the overall progression here. It seems like, let's go to Perry's Way again. I'll do a loop on that. Once it started getting in, I don't know that, sometimes it's been going off my mouse pad, but that really was just the radar kind of jumping around there. So you can see though, as we look toward Perry, you can see that's kind of started to stall out some. I think we're seeing a decrease in strength overall there. So that's some good news as we're looking at the overall scenario. But as we get up toward Madison, toward Lee there, those communities, we'll keep an eye on them. But let's see here. The winds don't look overwhelming there, but still could have a little bit of damage. You just never know here with some of these, areas here of moisture, the wind gust enhancement potential. Just have to be kind of watchful for that here as we look at the scenarios. So I know, just gonna keep on giving you guys the updates here as things do, warrant here in the weather picture. It's just, all about trying to be here for you, to guide you, to walk you through things here. I know it kind of can get repetitive sometimes, but it's all about trying to give you the latest here on things. I just, trying to update you guys here with the messaging and just just warn you guys and really tell you guys about the weather storyline that's in play here as things evolve here to some of the different zones and other spots staying dry, like around Stark and Gainesville, wondering why are we on? Like, what all is the fuss about here? What's the big worry? I mean, maybe you heard some of that rumbles of thunder there earlier indoor Gainesville, but the Gainesville airport didn't have any rain on that side, at least through 5:30. And, the focus has been like you were in Gilchrist County talking about things on the Doppler here a couple hours ago, and then things have gradually worked their way off toward the west and the north there with the overall geographic picture, the overall geography. So, again, that's kind of what we're doing here. That's kind of what we're dealing with. We still have the yellow boxes. That's why I'm still talking, until 8 o'clock here, another 30 minutes toward these different spots here with the severe thunderstorm warning situation. That's why I'm still on. I know it's Friday, but I have the tie on today because I knew we needed to talk about the tropics. We needed to make sure we didn't, just have a casual approach here to this. I mean, granted, it's fine, whatever you wear. I'm not, it's just the idea, though. When you're watching, when you're tracking things here, just wanted to make sure that, you guys were paying attention just in case here going into the weekend as we're looking at the overall weather. I know I've been talking a while, so, I apologize here. But again, it feels like I'm rambling, but again, it's just all about trying to give you guys the very latest. Normally on Fridays, I don't wear a tie. That's why I'm saying it like that. But anyway, I'm just trying to keep you guys up to date here. I just didn't want to, since I always wear a tie the other days, so, I just didn't want to, on this Friday, we didn't have a show yesterday, so just thought it'd be a good idea to wear it here today in terms of giving you guys the very latest here as we were looking at the overall situation. So, again, just trying to update you here the best I can. I know, everybody has different styles here, but, just trying to give you guys the latest updates here in terms of the overall information. So, parts of Taylor, parts of Madison, parts of areas in toward that zone. You have some wind. It doesn't look as impressive from this view, but let's go down to the other view because this one is up at the coast a lot more. We got to kind of watch here because some of this could kind of edge all the way up. It's an odd way, but, could kind of edge all the way up into Wakulla there if we're not careful. The way, we're tracking things here. This kind of looks like it's going a little south and west here, but, we'll just have to, with the movement it's going northwest, but south of Wakulla at points, with some of this, but some of this will obviously work its way in. We'll just have to see how strong it is here as we look at the overall picture. So, again, just trying to keep you guys informed here on the latest, on the overall situation. Just trying to be here for you as things do evolve. So, see some stronger winds there in the Gulf. 60 miles an hour here as we're trying to update you the best we can. That's pretty impressive here on those Doppler scans. Those Doppler scans here. We're just trying to, give you guys those important details here as things do move along with the overall scenario. So, again, just looking at things here. We're 2 hours now into this, but we're always, trying to update you guys the best we can, on these type of hazardous weather details, these hazardous weather conditions. So, again, just trying to be watchful here, just looking to see, just look at some of my different monitors here. It's just always about trying to give you guys the latest updates here on these inclement situations. Let's pull power outage numbers again. We'll go ahead and see that storyline there. 30 or so percent out in Lafayette, 12% out in Swanee. Look at Gilchrist. That's a lot better. Out there toward Gilchrist, seeing the crews, it looks like out there restoring power, which is some great news, obviously, as we look out there toward that part of our area and toward North Central Florida. So that definitely is some great news here. They offer some new information. Just trying to update you guys here. Just trying to update you here on the overall scenario. As things do evolve, we're just trying to be here for you. We're trying to provide those minute-by-minute updates here on the overall situation and just see how things evolve with the different scans. So, parts of Taylor, some of these areas pretty rural, but of course some of these so hard hit by our tropical impact as we're looking at things here. The overall tropical impact there, as we were doing, with Helene and Adalia, Debbie there, Elsa to a lesser extent. I mean, Debbie was a lesser extent compared to Adalia, and then Helene was the worst case scenario. Even Adalia pretty much was, but, we're still seeing some pretty gusty winds here along the coast right now. We still have the yellow boxes. That's why I'm still talking here. We're just trying to give you guys the very latest here on this ongoing situation. So, again, just trying to see here, just trying to see what's going on, trying to see what's happening, just trying to stay vigilant here. So, lightning count on this view is 131 last 15 minutes. I know Nair's talking about hope no voters out in the Gulf. That's a good point here. You don't want to have any voters out here in this area. Definitely, the marine warning in play, as I'll see here on this mode. Let me read that off here for everybody at home. We don't read those off too much, but, that's worth noting. Definitely worth noting there. Special marine warning strong thunderstorm activity there in play. Those wind gusts and just, getting up there pretty high, small hail even. So it's important to move to safe harbor until hazardous weather passes. Frequent lightnings occurring with these storms. If caught on the open water, stay below deck if possible and keep away from ungrounded metal objects. So, again, very important here to keep in mind as we're looking. I know we also had hail to about 1/4 of an inch in diameter. Pea-sized hail there in toward Live Oak and toward parts of Swanee County. We're just trying to be mindful here of things as the situation evolves. Just giving you some of those different details here. And we'll see how this holds together for Tallahassee's way. Let's go ahead and loop. Let me go over to the other mode because we had those weird scans on the velocity at one point. So let's get here. Have some different boundaries that can cause weakening sometimes or additional storm formation. I know we'll have to see, we have this coming down out of Bainbridge area. We'll have to see how that kind of interacts with some of this. Maybe there's a boundary in there too. And, the lightning count's really gone down, though, in this picture over the last little bit. I mean, the 15-minute count. Last hour, I mean, it's down to 317, but it was like 100, and it's about 700 there at one point or another. So that was very noteworthy, very significant. As we're looking at things, on the overall view, just trying to keep you up to date here. Just trying to update you here the best we can in terms of everything going on. So I'll have to see if this starts to coming. I hope it doesn't, but I think the velocities are having some issues a little bit off of Tallahassee, but that makes me think, we'll have to see if we end up getting some of that. If it goes more west, and that would be better for us. But if it goes a little north, that gets it into Wakulla, and that might get us another severe thunderstorm warning. We'll see how that kind of plays out. So, okay, so we're gonna remind you the covered area. We're just appreciating you guys tuning on in here on this Friday. I'm gonna go to the computer right now and kind of sit over here a little bit as we track storms as the lightning count is going down, and that's great news. So again, it's been on here for a while, on my feet for a while. Just gonna try to go ahead and continue to look at some things a little bit closer here at the computer source right now, as we still have these severe thunderstorm warnings here on play. So we need to, watch things toward Taylor County, toward Lafayette a little, but it's moving out of there. Madison, though, Madison County, we're watching you guys very carefully with the overall scenario. So, just trying to keep everybody informed here. As I'll punch the radar back up, and you can kind of see we're still tracking things on that Doppler presentation. So, again, just trying to watch things here with all that. With the Barron computers, the Barron computer sources. We're going to go ahead and just keep looking here. We're going to keep tracking things. We're going to keep on being here for you as long as it takes with these warnings. Hopefully it won't be too much longer, but you just never know here with the overall meteorology. I can look at sometimes things closer here at the computer source, right here at it. Just being able to stare at that the whole time here. We'll have to see, because it may get another extension even along the coast. We'll see, because now here's 56 miles an hour, but it kind of looks like it's heading more westerly and not too much north, but there's still enough of this right here. Does it kind of clip southern Wakulla here very well, which seem that would be more likely than not. So we'll have to see what the weather service in Tallahassee decides to do about this here over the next little bit. Again, look at some of the damage information you see out of Madison County. A large pine tree is blocking at least one lane along I-10 there in toward Madison County. As we're looking at the overall situation, you can see parts of Dixie County there. Again, some trees down there on power lines along 297th Avenue there in Northern Cross City. So, again, just trying to keep you up to date. I mean, things that looked a lot more vigorous a little while ago with the lightning count. So that's a good sign, but some of the stuff in the Gulf here is still worth noting. 51, 60. Right at the coast is 61 there. There's 50. Again, trying to give you guys the very latest here on things. Let's see where we want to go with this temperatures. Okay, that's what we'll pull up now. You can see 73, 75, so quite a bit cooler there as we're looking at things towards some of the different spots. So, but still warm to the north and to the west. We just got a new warning from the Jacksonville office. So let's see what that's about. Let me see. It's not that. That's too far north, I think. Okay, it is our area, or not my area, but it's their area, just barely. Okay, so it's just there. Jacksonville does cover up here. Just that far out, I couldn't really tell. But Baxley to Hazelhurst, that's north of our covered area, but it's the Jacksonville weather service just barely. I just seeing it that far north up there like that when I didn't have the counties on kind of confused me. But Applin and Jeff Davis, so not our area, thankfully. But there's a warning up there to 8:15 as we're looking at the latest information as we keep you guys up to date on things. And we got a new warning now locally, though, including parts of Leon County for a little over another hour. So again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here on things. Just trying to keep you guys up to date here on things as the situation does evolve. Again, just trying to be here for you. We got that new warning here on play now all the way through. So they think, oh, this could be severe in nature all the way further up here with this. They still think it could be severe, the Tallahassee office. So, we just have to be cognizant of that as we go ahead and look. Parts of Leon, parts of Jefferson, parts of Wakulla counties here under this warning until about 8:45. as we look here at the latest information. So just scrubbing between some of the details here the best I can. Just trying to update you here. Let me see what the latest is in terms of the text of the warning here. We'll go ahead and kind of pull that on up. Okay, Eastern Wakulla, Jefferson, Northwestern Taylor, Leon, and Central Madison at 8:45 p.m. At 7:39, severe thunderstorms located along a line extending from near I-10 near I-75, excuse me, at exit 16 to 24. That's as we're looking. All these different numbers coming together. So I'll read this again. At 7:39, severe thunderstorms are located along a line extending from near I-75 at exit 16 to 24 miles southwest of Perry, moving northwest at 20 miles an hour. So Tallahassee, Woodville, Monticello, Tallahassee State College, Florida State University, St. Mark's, Crawfordville, Florida A&M, Madison, Doak Campbell Stadium, Wakulla, Greenville, Toppy, Lake Bradford, Cody, Wakulla Springs, South City, over toward, some of these other spots here, in between as well. So, again, new severe thunderstorm warning for the, metro there toward Tallahassee to 8:45 p.m. So, again, just continuing to give you guys the very latest here on things. Just trying to update the best I can. This is a situation where we still have a really low chance tropically of development, but we're still watching some severe thunderstorm warning type of conditions here with the overall view. Just continuing to give you the latest on all this. Continuing to give you the latest. Just trying to be here the best I can for you. Just thanks so much for tuning in here on this Friday. Just watch me on all the different platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. It's all about giving you guys the very latest here. Just checking through everything. Okay, so we have, some of this action around Madison there. 26, 27 doesn't look overwhelming from this view. But again, we have a warning for the metro here. We have a warning for the metro to 8:45. We see some of this wind there in the Gulf. 59, 46. I mean, not all that's coming straight north. A lot of this is, what they're warning on for further west, but some of this on the southern end is kind of, could kind of clip some of the Wakulla County communities. So, again, that's what we got to kind of watch for here. We got to kind of watch for, again, this warning for an hour, another hour even, as we look towards some of the different spots. Just going to check some more sources here behind the scenes. It's all about updating you the best I can here. It's all about updating you the very best I can as things do move along. I just want to be here for you. Just want to be here for you. Just want to, help you guys, stay calm here with some of these storms kind of moving on into the picture. We just have to be kind of, watching here. Just have to kind of be watching here everything that's happening. Just going through everything, all my tools here. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning in effect here for parts of Leon, parts of Jefferson, parts of Wakulla. We still have the warning back out east as well. So we look at the information. Friday night plans being impacted. See some lightning popping up out here in McCullough. That's a little concerning because it's probably catching people off guard here now as we look. I don't like to see these kind of pop up. This is really rural, but over here is not as rural. And we're seeing some of these kind of pop up all of a sudden here. All of a sudden here over the last few minutes as we monitor the situation. So again, you can see the outage percentages there. So high up toward Lafayette County. Gilchrist was pretty high earlier, but it's gone down. Just gonna satellite a note. Just saw it like maybe once or twice, but you can kind of see here how this colder cloud top accent was in here. I mean, it's not as cold as it could be though. Some of the thunderstorms were, but not all that. I mean, the color table is a little different. I have some other ones I look at behind the scenes that, it's not like a tropical system at this point, is what I'm trying to say. But again, just trying to update you. Whatever thunder roars, you need to go indoors here. Lightning can strike miles away from a parent storm. So you just got to be cognizant here in that type of scenario. You just got to be really cognizant here when you have that electrical energy around. We'll go ahead and broaden the view out. You have that warning that's, north of our area, but it does include part of the weather service Jacksonville region, parts of Jeff Davis, parts of Applin. You had some flooding around North Georgia there, and see some flooding concerns north of Nashville and east there out toward that's like Cookville area in Tennessee there, and just kind of updating you here. Air quality concerns up north. For that a World Cup game coming up, the final on Sunday. That's concerning. But as we get back closer to home, you can kind of see here. You can kind of see the story. We'll watch this Tallahassee radar scan load in, I guess. It's a little bit different way to do it sometimes. But see how parts of the area not so much, but then you saw some stuff around Decatur County, and then as we have the scan kind of come around, you're able to see all the storm action here out toward the east. And definitely impactful there at points as we're looking some of that wind energy here. Some of those higher wind gusts, the potential as we're looking towards some of the different spots. 44, 45, 48. Just trying to update you here. Just trying to update you here as things do move along. Just trying to be here for you the best I can. Gonna go through some of our different modes. Again, looking at our warnings continuing. I see John B. watching. Coming back from Pinellas to Duval. Yeah, it's been a wild day with some storm activity for sure. As we're looking at some of the different impacts, some of our different zones. Definitely seeing some of that for sure. Just trying to be here for you. I see AJ watching there. Yeah, we're going to be watching them, see how they evolve toward Tallahassee. I kind of think they're going to weaken out as we're looking into toward Tallahassee proper, but you never say never with summertime storms. You have that Gulf influence, so we just have to still be paying attention here just in case. We don't want to let our guard down here and then something happens. So I just, we'll continue to be watchful here and mindful of the overall situation. So again, a severe thunderstorm warning here in play. Severe thunderstorm warning in play for parts of Leon, parts of Wakulla, parts of Jefferson. It's 8:45. We have the warning accident on Perry and Madison there. As we look further out inward to Big Bend. I know the model had this stuff kind of weakened a little bit earlier on, but it was a different run at this point. So, I mean, yeah, still some weakening though in there. You can kind of tell. So, as we lose the diurnal heating, we should have some of that weakening. But we'll just watch it one more time, and it's not even showing it making as far as it really has. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. This is the HRRR viewpoint, vantage point of things. There's different opinions here in terms of the overall meteorological story for sure as we kind of look at things. We're just trying to update you here. Yeah, look at that. It's coming into southern Wakulla a little bit here now. Or that's right in the water, but you get what I'm saying. 54. That's an anomaly there, but you kind of get the idea. Looking like some strong storm action near the Valdosta radar site. As you see some of that, looking with the Fargo. Looking at damage reports from earlier though. Cross city area, some trees on power lines. Lafayette County, numerous trees and power lines down across the county. That's something, really hadn't talked about too much, but we saw those added, informational details with the high numbers on percent and this number of customers, and this is why we've been sticking with it so long like this. Just around Mayo and Lafayette County, though, numerous trees and power lines down across the county. It's never something you want to hear, obviously, but that's what's happened there toward Lafayette County. As we're looking at things out toward that part of the viewing circle, I guess we'll call that the eastern Big Bend as we're looking at things here with the overall mapping. So, again, just trying to update you. Let's go back 3 hours on this. Okay, so we'll take the storm report out for a second. Let me go to home view. We'll go to Valdosta, the radar view. Make sure we're on it. I mean, I keep switching around, but then I'm going to go through here. We'll go 3 hours time lapse. Do 15, and then let's just go 3 hours. So you can kind of see how that's kind of coming on up here from the southeast to the northwest. Some of that Gulf influence here. Things didn't make it all the way to the east there, as you can kind of see how things spiral around there. You can kind of see things spiraling around here a little bit. So, again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here. Let me go over to, let's see, most of the Tampa radar now. But then let's go back 3 hours. You can kind of see how that stuff was coming up. And let's go 4 hours back. This is current. That's 4 hours, though. How it was down there. Some of that's in the very far southern periphery. But then let's go 4 hours for our area. No, let's go 6 because we had a warning at the 2 o'clock hour. So we'll kind of go to this view. I know our internet was on and off at this point, so I'm not 100% sure. I think it should be able to load it all in from then, but okay, so we're going to do 6 hour. I'm just looping that around to motion. Let's see how things have evolved here with the weather picture. Parts of Taylor, you can kind of see that impact. All those outages is in Lafayette County. Again, watching the tropics, as we look ahead in the timeline and see if this were to become tropical in nature. So there's a 30% chance of development according to the Hurricane Center. That's the good news. In fact, let me go into our system here. So we're gonna remind you guys of our counties here real quick. And then I'm gonna get that graphic on up. I'm gonna get that graphic on up here. Make sure everything looks good with that, and then we'll show that to you. So we had the new update. This number's still at 30, but a little bit of a different drawing sometimes will be on here. So the formation area over the next 7 days. So that's your 8 o'clock update on the tropics. 30% chance of development here as we're watching this overall storyline. So again, just trying to be here for you. And we'll see how this kind of comes together, if it comes together. A lot of the models saying no, or 1A run was really bullish, though. As I said to you guys a little bit earlier on there. So, again, just trying to be updating you the best I can here on the overall situation. Just trying to be really, that voice here that keeps you guys informed here. This right now is something where it doesn't look like it's going to be, an overwhelming concern. We're having some influence from it now as we look at the current Doppler radar presentation. As I flip it back over to the Doppler view, let's try to do a storm track on here. I mean, it kind of looks like we're seeing some weakening, but let me see our movement on here. Okay, northwest at 20 miles an hour. Northwest at 20 miles an hour. I mean, that there doesn't even get into Tallahassee, so we'll go to 25. It still doesn't, but a little bit quicker there on forward speed. Monticello by 50, according to this. That may be a little slow, but just according to the speed that they put out there. This is getting out of that day one rest, but sometimes things like this just happen, meteorologically around here. We still need the rain, so it's good that we're getting some of the rain. Let's look at 12-hour. It doesn't match further east, but some of these areas further west have been getting it, so that's good as we're looking at things on the overall view. You see some of these areas getting a good bit over the last 7 days, but you also have had some damage here too. Other areas, not so much. This is how it is this time of year. Look at some of the different numbers. Trace and 5 inches. This is how it is all around here. Makes it hard for the messaging, for the forecasting, for sure. Had the one warning go away here at the top of the hour, but the other warning, I think I might actually, let me double check that. We actually, we technically had that too. So technically we had 3 warnings there for a little while, but now we're down to 1. That's for a large area here, and it goes for a while longer. Assuming we don't see enough decay that they drop it, but on the southern periphery, that's too much wind, at least down here, for them to drop it. I mean, as we kind of look at the information. Some of the stuff further up doesn't look as impressive, but just never knows. I mean, right there at that line north of the warning, actually have a little bit of enhancement in the Georgia, but again, I appreciate you tuning in and trusting me. Let me see if there's any more questions, comments. Appreciate everybody tuning on in. Gonna go over to that computer source. Just appreciate everybody tuning on in here on this Friday night. And there's other things you can do on a Friday night here, or want to do, if these storms are headed toward you, then have to watch these storms. But here we are, storm action coming on in here toward portions of the area with some severe conditions possible as we're looking at the overall meteorological story. Just trying to update you the best we can. Trying to update you the best we can. Again, I'm still here in the weather center. Just continuing to look at things. McCullough, Leon, Jefferson, Taylor, Madison. And this boundary could give you some winds here too in Tallahassee. That's something to keep an eye out for. You know, maybe like a gust up to about 30 on that. Can't really tell very good, but this little boundary here. Not any storm accident or even rain really, but outflow here. You see that kind of coming up in the view. Cool air being pushed on out. See 51.41 as we look there at the miles an hour. Had a little bit of a flood risk on here, but kind of, you know, this moved on off at this point. I mean, maybe still some minor flood in those low lying areas, poor drainage areas, but you know, temperature's still warm toward Tallahassee, 93 degrees. They're 90 in Thomasville. I mean, it still feels like the triple digits out there toward Tallahassee. But look at Live Oak, all that wind and storm accident, it feels like 68 degrees, you know, room temperature for some. So that's something as we look out there. $49 miles an hour. You can see here, just watching the Doppler trends. Just whenever thunder roars, you want to go indoors. Remember, lightning can strike miles away from a parent storm. Let's go to our 3D mode. Look at this vertically. See some of that vertical development. But I think we are seeing a gradual trend of weakening with some of this. Granted, the lightning count in this one view is going up some, but let me tilt it back this way. Seeing some stronger winds here in the parts of McCulloch County. Getting some development right around Crawfordville. Maybe some gusty winds toward areas around Crawfordville, Mount Pleasant. Again, trying to keep you up to date. Again, storms still in the forecast as we look ahead. Tomorrow, general thunderstorms, but I'm sure we'll probably, have storms that at least reach, close to severe, if not getting to severe limits. Sunday, the higher rain chance, up to 80%. No formal rest, but we'll be watching things here in the Weather Center. Again, you see the temperatures, 75, 74. It's a lot cooler towards some of the areas further east. We didn't really get rain where I'm at around Stark, but it still cooled down a lot. Just the clouds and the overall, push to some cooler air. And another new warning. So let's go ahead and see what this is about. Let's go to our current view. This that area is kind of alluding to, unfortunately. Now this, Liberty and Franklin are not our area, but this part of, Leon, all of Leon, but that part of Leon's under a warning to 9. Area of McCulloch, 9 o'clock now, new severe thunderstorm warning. It's kind of what we were just talking about here around Crawfordville. Again, just trying to keep you up to date. Let me see what they're saying with the statement. So we're talking about McCulloch in our area, southwestern Leon, till 9 p.m. at 8:07. Severe thunderstorms are located along a line there. It looks like 9 miles west of Monticello to near Woodville to 14 miles east of Carabel. Moving northwest at 35 miles an hour. So Woodville, Carabel, East Point, Apalachicola, Crawfordville. I mean, some of these areas are out of reviewing circle, but, severe thunderstorm warning till 9 p.m. as we're looking at the overall information. So that movement, let me just kind of highlight that. Northwest at 35 miles an hour. So okay. See that development with that boundary there? That's what always is tricky about this stuff. You can get that, interaction here. Some of this will be out of our area, but let's just kind of track it more like this then. That'd be pretty much all out of our area, but it's also pretty rural out there. But you have some smaller cities in there when I go to it like this. Hilliardville's in our area, though. They'll be into this in a few minutes. Just to highlight there. There's Crawfordville, but then Hilliardville's up in here. As this kind of comes on in. Some stronger winds here. Again, looking at our power outage story, I know as we get toward darkness, it's got to be careful. There is a power outage that on a traffic light, just treat those intersections as four-way stops. And also, it's a situation here where you just want to be very mindful in terms of as we're looking there, don't want to have candles there out because you want to have regular flashlights because it's a situation there where candles if you were to, like, go to bed and the power's still out and they get knocked over somehow, an animal knocks them over, that can catch the house on fire and lead to a very tragic outcome, so that's one thing to keep in mind, but Gilchrist County, by the way, their outage numbers back up, so I wonder if some of the, information there was, maybe something that kinda became an issue again, just kind of really came together again there in terms of the overall situation, but or maybe it's just some data and reporting information where it looked like it had gone down and then maybe that wasn't necessarily the case, but hard to say, but again, just trying to keep you up to date. Just looking through things here. Eventually, this will be out of our area, so if it somehow makes it all the way across, that's severe, which I don't think that area would to the east, and this would, and it will be out of our area quicker, but, let's just kinda measure some of this. Okay, northwest at 20 miles an hour. So if it really held together that long, it could still be another few hours, but I don't think it will. Just continuing to watch things here. Storms north in Georgia there, and let's go to another vantage point here real quick. Just looking across the country, but all that terrible flooding in Texas. It's been a story out there, terrible, deadly flash flooding. Let's go to totals last 7 days, and I mean, our totals pale in comparison to what they've had out there. I mean, look at some of these. These are just awful. Real quick, a big national story out there, and we'll get back to our stuff. But I mean, just look at some of these totals here. 30 inches of rain. Just awful, deadly, terrible flooding out there. And in our area, though, not near that much. Some areas, not much at all. But some spots with the purples, magenta's showing up. 7 inches over the last week or so, but not 30 inches, 9 inches. That's the south of the area there, but 7.5, 5.5. Just looking through some of the different tools in our toolkit, and let's go to the Baron button. Maybe some hail in there in Wakulla County. We'll be watching the trends. Some of these purples, the pinks kind of indicate that. If we kind of look here, I'm going to go ahead and pull up one of our other maps here. Road conditions definitely wet out there for sure. Slick spots on the roads. As I remind you guys of the coverage area. Just keeping you guys up to date for the 38 counties. I see Danielle Watson talking about raiding on the rain there in northern Thomas County. There's a significant advisory there at 8:30 in part of the county and now 9 on a new one actually that got issued. So we'll just have to watch the trends out there. Just trying to keep you up to date. Just trying to be watchful here of the situation. As I look through some of the information here that we have at our disposal. It's just so important to be here for you. We're going to go back on over now to the other mode. See some of this wind coming on in. Part of Wakulla County. You see our severe thunderstorm warning situation. Again, just trying to keep you up to date. And just continuing to look at things, the overall forward progressing off toward the north and west. Definitely worth noting. Just continuing to look at all our mapping. I'm still here with you guys, just watching the situation. Just been on for hour after hour, but it's all about trying to keep you up to date. Leon, you can see there's some of our alerts. Let me just pause this. Saw Jefferson there. Wakulla. That's where I think some of the worst of this is right now in Wakulla. All this wind in there. Looking at some different color tables. It's a different way to look at it, but let's go to the Baron button. This is a better way to look at maybe some of the hail potential. Just watching the trends here. Trying to be here. Again, you see all the lightning. Obviously, whenever thunder roars, you want to go indoors. Again, trying to keep you up to date. See some 50-mile-an-hour winds there. 42. Thousand customers in dark. Taylor County, Leon right now 300, Wakulla 500, Decatur 100, into South Florida 100, 2,000 out Live Oaks County there, Swanee and Lafayette's 1,600 out there toward parts of areas around Dixie. Gilchrist is 1,000, 100 in Columbia, 100 in Alachua, 300 in Levy. Again, just watching the radar trends. Let's look at lightning here over the last little bit. That trend. At least in this view, it's gone up some actually, but some of that stuff in the Gulf's kind of spiraling into the view. That's what's kind of played a role in that. Look at all these wind reports here. 54 miles an hour there. St. Mark's area. Shell points at 58. No wonder they're keeping this warning with, such really vigor here. 58 Shell point at 804. 47 there. 47 miles an hour. 49. 49. I mean, we kind of thought the Wakulla part was the strongest. That's the part that had the highest severe, type of characteristic there, the damage potential. Definitely meeting that criteria for some severe weather as we look towards some of those different zones. Gonna keep looking at some things here. See a hail report there toward parts of Swanee County earlier on. We see areas there of Wakulla, some stronger winds. Again, we had those reports. Gust to 58 there. Let's kind of back that on up. Again, you see how it's warmer in spots, and that kind of tells you we still have some of that storm fuel left. And the forecast model earlier wasn't picking up on things as well, but again, just trying to keep you informed. Each triple R doing wrong, with that kind of makes me, really question even more. I mean, we're already questioning it. We were showing you earlier on about it trying to spin something up in the tropics. Maybe if stuff's maybe more land-based, I mean, you just never know here. Then maybe it's just kind of really misreading the situation for a couple of days out, and it's already misreading it now. Again, trying to keep you updated. Again, looking through some of the data points. Warning for Tallahassee, but the worst is this, there's our warning there, but the worst is off toward the east. Okay, we're going to gather some more information. We'll be back here in 60 seconds. So keep it tuned to Cloud Weather. I'll keep you guys up to date here on this Friday with a special coverage of the storm activity. So again, just trying to keep you up to date. I'll be back in 60 seconds with more information here as we're watching this overall situation here with the storm threat impacting us. In the last half decade or so, our area and the region have been through a lot. Stay safe, but it's going to be memorable. I was there around 4 p.m. to document the life-threatening situation here. So, again, that's the storyline there. Oh, I think we just had another power flash. Another power flash. Sometimes Bradford County is a tough spot to see a spin-up tornadoes, so we just want you to go ahead and be inside and away from windows. Can't even completely rule out a quick spin-up tornado, so things have started to escalate here. Please take shelter. This is going to cause a lot of damage. Radar-confirmed tornado in southeastern Georgia. We're seeing areas there around Perry bear the brunt of this, coming into these communities and ravaging them. That's why we got to get you guys out. You got to run from that water. You got to evacuate. You got to follow these orders. This is as serious of a situation I've seen. This is the eye wall. This is where some of the worst of the weather is. When hazardous weather threatens, trust Cloud's weather. Back here in the Weather Center now, still tracking the severe thunderstorm warning situation as we look toward that Florida Big Bend region. So, again, I'm just trying to keep you up to date here. Just trying to keep you up to date on things. 45 miles an hour, 41, 35. Again, just trying to be watchful, just trying to be mindful here of the situation as we look at things. And out toward the east, you can see some of that lightning here on the view. I know you can get lightning alerts on that Cloud Weather app, so make sure you download that there, the Google Play Store. Listed there as Cloud Weather, or in the Apple App Store listed as KC Cloud Weather. So there's some different ways you can stay connected here to Cloud Weather and the latest information as we're looking at the overall meteorology, of course. So again, something to be paying attention to there with the overall situation. And north of our area by a little ways, there's a flash flood warning there as we get, that's toward Americus, by the way. That's not our area, but interesting to take note of there as we're looking at things, as we're updating you here, as just, seeing things evolve here with the overall picture. I mean, all that, moisture content out there for sure. That high moisture content as we're, seeing those high precipitable water values. Again, just trying to give you the latest. I'm going to tilt this back. Looking at some of the storms. Just watching the different scans. Around South Tropics there, seeing some impact. This looks a little bit weaker, the overall trend, but you just never know. I mean, that's still pretty high right there. It's pretty close to the radar site, too. We had those reports, like out towards Fayette County earlier on, numerous trees and power lines down across that county. So not what you want to see out toward the Mayo area. I mean, we had some issues around Trenton, just overall there and towards some of our zones kind of in the middle. You know, the 38 counties, I guess you could kind of call it, as we're looking eastern Big Bend into north central Florida. So again, that's kind of what we're tracking there. Been with you for 3 hours now, but it's all about just trying to give you the latest 3 hours straight pretty much. I mean, we were on, of course, earlier on in the afternoon as well, a couple times with some severe thunderstorm morning activity, but just trying to give you guys the very latest on things here the best we can. Just trying to give you the very latest the best we can. You know, all these flashes here, you know, that indicates lightning within the last 60 seconds in those spots, the ones that are flashing these lightning strikes. Let's just kind of figure out where you want to go with this. I mean, outages is a way to go, I guess, and you can just see what colors now really come up as we look out there. We'll look it up a different way. I mean, that's not showing it maybe as much, but just looking at some of our outages here, telling that story. 38 miles an hour, 35. Just trying to update you. Some lightning there between Monticello and Greenville. Had a gust of 50 about an hour ago. Some of the stuff's not moving all that much, you know, in terms, I mean, that was kind of on the periphery though. Stuff from the outflow, it might have been actually. Yeah, that's what was happening there. Again, just trying to update you. Just looking at things, you know, most of our area staying dry right now, but Leon County and, you know, that area out with Cullah and all the way through Madison and Taylor, that's where our focus is right now with the activity, with the Doppler, with the overall scans. And just trying to look at things the best we can. Just trying to look at things the best we can. Just looking through some more information here. We're going to come back with this on the other mode. Our different yellow boxes still on the screen. I know way north of our area, there's now a severe thunderstorm warning up, you know, central Georgia, I-16. I think that's what that is there. So look at the overall situation. Way north of our area, though. But we have the warnings in our area that we have to keep tracking. By the way, Taylor County, several trees down across the county there with that impact. That's why we're sticking with this. Even though I think there is some weakening overall here, you just never know. Still have the yellow boxes on the screen, still the severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. So. See the boundary there. Let's look. Maybe maybe that'll kind of lead to some weakening with this. Maybe it is leading to some weakening. Cool air being pushed out. Again, just trying to update you. I'm looking at like some lightning up there just in the northern part of Clinton County in our area. But the focus is down here, not even as much as here, but down here especially. In Wakulla. Cropperville to Shop Troppy there. Let's look at 12-hour rainfall. I mean, this is going to underdo it, but you can see a lot of area didn't get rain, but other areas been getting multiple inches. I mean, that's really impressive for this mode. So in 5+ outdoor areas east of Cedar Key, it's pretty rural out there, but still something to take note of. Just watching the winds here on the Doppler. They don't look as impressive, but we're right here near it, right here near the Doppler scan. The geography of it all. It's coming from here up toward Tallahassee, so looking pretty low down with some of these numbers. Lightning count seems to have, if I turn it back here, it's just definitely going down some. Let's go ahead and loop this here. I mean, I know it looks like it's gone up, but the last few scans, you see how it went down some. Again, pretty slow movement on some of this activity. But you can kind of see that spiral in nature of things, a little more westerly. Just don't want to take any chances, of course, after what happened last Friday evening there toward Tallahassee, where 2 people tragically lost their life when a tree fell on their vehicle. So just got to be really careful when we have these severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. Just got to be mindful of the scenario. Just checking all the different resources of cloud weather here. Just trying to stay on top of it all. Appreciate the 12 of you watching right now over on YouTube. Just checking some things. Watching the different informational streams here. Gonna go back over to the computer source now. Definitely seeing a weakening trend with that lightning count going down as we're losing that diurnal heating. The daytime heating's, going away. So that should help us some. This one only goes 8:45, so let me see what they're going to say about that one to the east. Haven't seen an extension, which is probably a good sign. I don't see any updates yet, though. See around Choppy there, some of that storm activity right on the edge of the warning, Choppy. Crawfordville, it looks a little bit weaker as well, but that warning goes to 9 down there. They made us hold it. I mean, some of that worst of the actions going a little further west, eventually into Franklin and Liberty, but right now that's still under Word Color as well. Again, looking toward Monticello. Maybe this yellow box will go away here in a moment. It looks a lot weaker than one yellow box. But this other yellow box, I mean, it looks weaker as well, thankfully. But we still have to just pay attention. Looking from the Vedasta radar, it looks like we're really seeing weakening now. It took a little bit longer than we were thinking, but we always like to see weakening with these storms. Caused quite a few outages, even more than what this shows, but you see 24% out in Lafayette, 13.5 out in Gilchrist and McCullough, even just the recent stuff, 15%. We had that impressive burst there of wind energy, but you see our one warning's off the screen now, which is good. We still have the warning down toward the south here. But I mean, I see that cool air being pushed out, so hopefully that's not going to last too much longer. But it only goes for a little bit of Leon, a little, actually a good bit of McCullough, but then once it gets past McCullough, though, that's Liberty and Franklin there. That's out of our area, is what I'm saying. So. I'm still here looking at stuff, but hopefully it won't have to be on too much longer based on these trends. I know these numbers were pretty impressive earlier on, though. 58 miles an hour early in the hour. Definitely noteworthy. You can see the weakening though. Things should be falling apart pretty quick at this point, I would think. We'll have to watch in tomorrow. Let's go up to tomorrow's forecast here. Just reminding the area here again, but we'll just, get that together here. Tomorrow's forecast. We've already done this show here earlier on if you guys want to scrub back and see that full forecast. But what I'm going to do is get HRRR up here. Let me just see how things are progressing with that run. We don't have the 0Z yet, so let me just be a little ways away for that anyway, even for the computer source here. But I'll see the earlier run, but I'll kind of preface with saying not sure. I'll kind of preface it with saying not sure about the Sunday part of this, but for tonight, weakening on off, but as we look towards Saturday, it stays dry, maybe a little bit longer here, 60%, but you see the development in the northwest zones, maybe more tomorrow, but then on Sunday, this is really bullish. I mean, this is way, way bullish. It actually has a tropical storm developing, but there's only a 30% chance from the hurricane center and only 10% here in the next 2 days, so this is very unlikely to happen like this, but we'll continue to watch the trends, obviously, but Saturday's forecast look like a little less coverage, but a little skeptical on some of the modeling based on, just to how things have played out here lately with a lot of different things. Again, we still have a warning in play, but things look a lot better on radar right now. Just going to keep on looking at things. Crawfordville to stop choppy there. We're still watching the trends, but this warning only goes to 9. So hopefully, this will be kind of getting off the board here pretty quick. Northern Clinch County, we're watching some stuff. That looked a little bit stronger there in far northern Clinch. So I have to be careful there. I don't see much wind at all in that, though, thankfully. What direction is that moving? It looks like it's moving more northerly. I don't know, though. The skit, yeah, looking at that there, it looks more stationary or a little west even, but I see advisories further out. We have some of that, because of this outflow boundary, some stronger winds being pushed, out, cool air being pushed out by the convection. Kind of catch people off guard sometimes, not really having rain or lightning around, but get some gusty winds there. Weather service with a statement. Let me look at what they're saying with that. I'm going to look that up real quick. Maybe wind gusts up to about 40 miles an hour. They're kind of, I think, just keeping that because we had the storm accident, but the boundary still could have some pretty strong winds. As we look here, some of the stronger pixels. Higher wind numbers. I know I've been talking a while, but it's all about trying to give you guys the very latest here to protect and inform you, your friends, and your family. I know, getting past that day one risk area, but this is how things are sometimes. Let me pull up some rainfall forecast here real quick. For today here, but that's one thing. But let's go to tomorrow, see more westerly in general. This is the official rainfall forecast. As we kind of look at the trends. day 3 a little bit more, but it could be way more if something developed tropically. Day 4, day 5, or I think I skipped one. Day 5 there, day 6, day 7, and then it's the overall rainfall forecast, the official rainfall forecast from the Weather Prediction Center. I know I studied the Euro model way earlier on, but see a few inches toward Columbia County on average, Lafayette County a few inches, Taylor a few inches, Dark only says about an inch, but we'll see. You just never know here with these patterns. Maybe 4 inches out toward parts of Leon with the forecast. Excuse me, the forecast here. So again, just to be mindful. Losing my voice here a little, but it's all about trying to give you the latest. This will be about done with this, hopefully. Again, just appreciate everybody tuning in and trusting me, though. Let's look back here over the last 4 hours from the Vadasta vantage point on the radar. Let me go back 4 hours. There's definitely a lot of storm activity. More kind of holding together than you normally get with your typical summertime stuff because we have a little of that spin coupled with the daytime heating. So that's kind of helped to hold things together a little bit more than you would otherwise see. All these different yellow boxes, but hopefully they're about done. I mean, I could go back I'll go back 6 hours. I'm able to see acts like I could go back even more. Let's go back 8 hours. I know our internet was down at one point in there, earlier on. That's why that loop didn't work perfect, but you can see some of that overall yellow box type of nature with things at some mornings earlier on. Had one down there to the south of Marion, or south in Marion, and then front Hawthorne, and then we'll go to the 6-hour loop. Maybe that'd be better, and then he won't cut off. But you kind of get the idea here as we're looking. Just the overall progression here on this Friday, 17th day of July, 2026. Get some rain to develop here around Tallahassee a little bit. Some downpours coming on, and not seeing the lightning on this mode because I don't have it on. Let's check. Don't really see it yet, but we could get a few strikes out of that right near town. But that's a sign of just overall decay here. Could have a rainy night in spots, but the severe potential seems like it's coming to an end. For tonight here is what I'm seeing. But this service is kind of now, okay, so for our area, what this is saying, this is west of our area. So for our area, it is coming to an end. For areas just west of our area, not so much. They're going to issue a new warning till 10 o'clock, which is 9 Central, but this is west of our area. Calhoun, Gulf, Liberty, and then Franklin till 10 p.m. So kind of interesting there because this only goes to 9, and maybe the outflow boundary. I just wonder, let's check some of those winds on that. I'm not seeing a whole bunch with that, but let's check. We might have some other views they're looking at here because they can look at the Panama City radar and stuff. Maybe they're seeing some stuff off of the Eglin radar, I'm saying, but that they might be able to get a better vantage point on something because I'm not seeing a whole bunch, but they do have a history and they had the wind with them earlier on, so that's something to take note of. A lot less lightning, than what we had earlier, but there's still a good bit of it. Definitely be putting on a show here at night now with the nocturnal conditions with the, flashes in the sky. But if you're hearing rumbles of thunder, you cannot be out watching that. If you're not hearing rumbles, though, it's a different story. It would be safe, and just a general idea as we're looking at things here. So, again, just continuing to watch things. Been with you for a while, trying to give you the latest since 5:30, pretty much continuous. Hopefully, be wrapping this up soon, but Seeing all the different damage reports. And it would look like to me that, some of the worst of this here, kind of in this box. I mean, some of it gets out in the Gulf, but so it's interesting how they drew that warning because it does not include that, and we only have 2 minutes left. So I'm a little confused, honestly. But I mean, it would be maybe on the leading edge, but still watching some of the accent over here. Got quite a bit of lightning there in southern Thomas County. Looking around New Hope Road, Mill Pond Road, Clay Hill Lane. Again, all the reports are there on Taylor County, several trees down across the county there. Lafayette County, numerous trees and power lines down across the county. Madison County FHP reported a large pine tree blocking at least one lane along I-10. Just, some of these reports telling that story. Had some pretty strong wind in McCullough here recently. I mean, up to 58 severe criteria. It was top of the hour. We're now at 9 almost, 9 o'clock at night. But just continuing to watch things. And the warning's gone away for right this moment here to the east. Let me check our other radar view. I mean, I get why, want to warn some of this edge here because some of this looks pretty impressive at boundary, but another hour, Liberty, Gulf, and Franklin. But that's getting out of our area. We don't cover Liberty and Franklin anymore. Cover Gadsden, Leon, McCullough. There's storm acts in there, but there's no warning. I mean, really, it's mainly McCullough with the worst of this. We'll have to see what they decide to do, though. Just checking some different vantage points here on the radar. I mean, I know that boundary is going to have some pretty strong winds with it, but are they to 60? I'm not 100% sure. Not necessarily seeing that, but I mean, it will be out of our area pretty soon anyway, because I mean, we're looking at subtropics. It's, Crawfordville, the worst is probably behind them. It's probably just this, back in here going west into the yellow box. But I mean, with the warning gone, I theoretically could wrap it. I may do that in just a moment, but I just kind of hate to wrap it when there's still a little bit of a question here since the yellow box is just west here. We have stuff still in our area, though, that's going to be entering into that. I know I might be missing something. I have pretty tired eyes after being on here 3.5 hours straight after, already having coverage earlier, some cut-ins and stuff, but Again, just trying to keep you guys up to date. Just watching the accent kind of spiral around. Let's go to satellite here real quick. Seems like not any real organization in the Gulf still, which is good. I mean, just all those core. Let's try the. I know I'm looking at this a little weird. The meso water vapor's not working, so, or it's in a different spot. Let's go ahead and let's see here. Let's do this water vapor. Still kind of new with these satellite views, and there's been some issues lately anyway, so it's definitely moist out there, though, with the upper levels, being, packed with moisture. That's higher precipitable water values. So. Officially, the warning's out of our area. I'm just trying to make sure because, I know the overall trends are a little bit tricky with this sometimes. Because technically, the stuff's still in our area. It just doesn't have a warning, but it's going to be entered into a warning. A lot of lightning there around Thomasville and Thomas County. Parts of Jefferson County have quite a bit of lightning. See around Caribou there, seeing some of that electrical energy, but that's starting to get out of our area. That is out of our area, Caribou now, but South choppy, still some heavy rain. Again, this looks pretty impressive. I just don't know why the warning didn't go further east into Caribou. Let me double check here. I'm just going to check our warning box on another source. I mean, I read over it. It didn't include our area, so. Of course, we had a marine warning to the south, but did have a gust of 43 at Tallahassee Airport, 8:22 p.m. Still a lot of lightning in spots. This is just north of our area there. Jefferson into Thomas, some lightning. Not as much lightning with this stuff here, but, the severe conditions, more likely would seem just, as we edge out of the area, it would look like at this point in time, so. Okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap since we don't have an official warning in our area anymore. We had the full show, so I'll just go ahead and kind of wrap the stream. If we have another warning, we'll pop back in, but don't necessarily think we'll keep the radar running since we have the whole show on here. You guys can look back. I mean, a lot of that was about an hour in-ish on the stream here because we had warnings. I mean, some of that was a little less than that, but, really from about 6 p.m. and then getting a little bit later on, we had a full forecast on and off there and got through it all in between the updates on warnings. But, I mean, here's another look at the 7-day, but you can get through more of the full forecast on there if you go back in the stream, like on YouTube now or on the other platforms when I wrap it here in just a moment. I mean, I think you can go back on Twitter/X now, but on Facebook, I know you can until it's over. So this is just a look at 7-day, though. We're going to still watch the tropics. The rain chance is higher Sunday and Monday, but still, according to the model, and some stuff around Tallahassee tomorrow. So, oh goodness, we just got a warning just on here. Let's see what this is. Okay, I think this is barely going to clip our area then because we don't cover Coffee and Atkinson anymore, but we do cover Ware. This is barely clips our area. So let's go ahead and look at the latest on this here. What is the motion? Yeah, that's moving out of our area here. So we'll stay with it a few more minutes then, but not long because that's going to be out of our area soon, if it even is in our area at all. I mean, so let me go ahead and kind of look here. Okay, so the information from the Weather Service. So southeastern coffee, Central Atkins, and those are both out of our area. We used to cover them, but when we enhanced things, those two aren't in our area anymore. But we do still cover Ware, of course, as part of the Jacksonville TV market, northwestern Ware. Under a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:30 officially, but Douglas and that area, that's the area that's more, in the line of concern. Douglas, definitely, they were impacted so hard by Helene as well. People kind of forget about it, but, we covered them, when they were impacted by Helene. We don't cover, those two counties anymore, but we still cover this area. This little sliver right here got included under the warning. So at least for a couple more minutes, we'll talk about it. Right there on Bickley, you guys are under this severe thunderstorm warning, Old Nicholas Highway. So this would be kind of, an odd situation to cut in for if we weren't already on, but that's a very small part of our area here under the severe thunderstorm warning until 9:30 around the Bickley community. So, see, it looks pretty impressive moving up toward Douglas and Pearson now. Let's go to the other, yeah, let's go to this velocity here from Bud Austin. You can see 28 miles an hour right around Bickley, but maybe a little bit stronger getting there, moving up toward Douglas. That's more the Albany TV market up there, but and we still have this stuff, but this is getting out of our area here, so. As we continue to give you the updates. See around Thomas County there, some lightning in toward that zone. Jefferson County, some of that lightning. Again, just trying to give you the latest. Again, the reason we're going to stay on for a few more minutes at least is just a very, very small portion of Ware County under this severe thunderstorm warning of 9:30. Just a very small part. I guess maybe right there too, but right here west of Millwood. Just a couple small parts, I guess, under this. As you look, I don't know if it's even worth drawing, but right in there, and then it goes down and it goes out and it kind of comes back in, just barely. So again, severe thunderstorm warning of 9:30. Mostly a concern for Douglas, though, up there in parts of Coffee County. It's Atkinson's included too. That's where it is now, but population-wise, more Douglas area probably going to have that impact over the next little bit. Some of this spin in the atmosphere is kind of letting this stuff hang on a little longer. But, a lot of that diurnal, action's kind of falling apart, but some of it not completely. Let me check questions and comments again on this Friday night. Just appreciate everybody tuning on in and trusting me. Again, this is getting out of our area. Liberty, Franklin, Gulf, Calhoun. That's, none of those are our counties, but the storm action's still kind of in the area. And Wakulla some. So western Wakulla here around South Tropics. So see some lightning there around Thomasville. We'll watch there. The electrical energy, Monticello. Whenever thunder roars, go indoors. But there's a look Pearson up toward Douglas to Nichols area. That burst of wind energy really looks like it's going to be out of our area soon, but, could still have a little bit there right around the community of Bickley there. Right around Old Nichols Highway, Corson Road. If we see that impact, let's call that lightning way north in Georgia, Vidalia, Swainsboro, but that's not close to our area there, of course. But again, just continuing to watch the impact, but right on the edge here of our area. Just a little bit of wear included in this. And we're seeing that west and that northwesterly movement. Weather Service, let's see what they're tracking this at. They're moving it 15 miles an hour off toward the north and west. 15 miles an hour off toward the north and west. So. You can see the outages. That's quite a few outages for Wakulla there. See Lafayette County there. Good bit in the dark there too. We'll go back over to currents. Let's look over the outages this way. Swanee 1,000. We'll scrub into county layer, but you see 800 there for Lafayette, 200 Levy, 100 Alachua, 400 Gilchrist, 300 Dixie, 900 Taylor, 300 inward parts of areas there around Madison, 400, 300, or 100, excuse me, 100, 700, 1,000, and Wakulla there. That kind of tells a story. Of course, the reason we're handling with coverage now is for this area. It's just barely clipping our region. I mean, it's just a little bit of wear there, a little bit of wear here, but most of it's in Coffee and Atkinson with that threat. Kind of see that spiraling out of our area, by the way, but hopefully they'll be able to trim some of these spots here soon. You know, that potential though, definitely with boundary interactions, getting, significant toward Coffee County, but again, Coffee's not our area. But they are getting quite a big impact there on Stokesville, Wilsonville. East side of Pearson getting off along Atkinson Boulevard East there, Albany Avenue, Albany Highway. Just definitely watching things, but most of that's edging out of the area, spiraling out. Moving off toward the north, moving off toward the west there. Just saw these different wind reports. Madison, Lafayette, Taylor telling that story, Dixie. Of course, we'll be here with you to the weekend as necessary as we watch the tropics. Just the overall storm action being kind of fueled because of the overall pattern. Of course, no formal show is scheduled right now for the weekend. I mean, if something really spun up in the tropics, then things will change and we'll have the logo red and, really kind of be giving you a lot of coverage. Hopefully, we've already given you a lot of coverage for storm acts and pop-up stuff, but if it's a tropical system, coverage would be a lot more enhanced. But right now, it's something where we'll just, play it by ear as the storms kind of pop up and cutting as needed. If we were to get any tornado warning, same type of deal here, but there's some spins, so we'll have to watch for that. But right now, just kind of enhanced pattern here with storms, and we have those severe thunderstorm warnings. We'll treat it like this and give you the necessary coverage no matter what, over the weekend here and overnight, whatever. Just trying to give you guys the very latest here to protect and inform you, your friends, and your family. So 32 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. Just our part of the area there. I mean, the other little sliver, let's get down into the south, but I mean, you don't see that much. It's, again, where is our area? That's the little tiny slots here is our area. The rest of this is just northwest of our area. But the warning does go to 9:30, but again, they may cut our part out sooner. We'll see. I mean, really, this pot here looks like it'd be the one raw Millwood is where we might, still have some of the heaviest stuff in our area. It looks like the other slot's kind of moving away from that probably. Because that stuff doesn't look too bad there. So it's probably just this one little area right here on the edge. Just going between some different skins. Stuff more disorganized, especially on wind motor on Tallahassee down to Wakulla, but there's now a flood advisory toward areas like around Crawfordville to 1015. Some of these spots here are getting 3 inches, 4 inches. So quite a bit of precip down there. Just remember at night, flooding can be especially dangerous. Turn around, don't drown. If you can't tell how deep that water is on a road, it's just so important to take, that precaution, take that, really advice there and just turn around and don't get caught up in that adverse scenario. Don't take that chance. Do not take that chance. Again, looking at things there in South Georgia. It's just a very small part of the area. So, with it not being like a tornadic situation, I'm probably just about to wrap it, I think. It's just so small a part of our area, and it seemed like it's kind of moving away. I mean, a couple small parts around Bickley and around Millwood, but it's really, more so going off toward the north and the west there and toward, and that's where it's been, really Atkinson and Coffee, so. And then if they were to issue another one of these warnings here, it would be out of our area, so. And that'd be Tallahassee's, responsibility as it gets up into here maybe, but Jacksonville could extend. We'll see. We'll monitor it, but it shouldn't be something I really need to worry about because it'll be out of the area. You can kind of see some more of that burst of wind east of Douglas there, out of our area though. So I think we're going to wrap it at this point because I know a little bit of the area is still under the yellow box, but it's kind of moving on out. So, and they're axing there the warnings for further out with the overall development and the like. So we'll see outages again, but you see some spots of quite a few outages. Lafayette, Wakulla, some other spots in between. It's kind of noteworthy there. As we're looking at things overall. Again, just watching all these different reports here. Loop things over the last hour. To see if some of this stuff here gets a little bit, as we're looking northern Leon and the southern parts of Grady, southern Thomas here. Just have to kind of watch it a little bit. Nothing too crazy in velocity though right now. Still pretty nasty thunderstorm action though. If I need to pop back in, I will, but again, this warning's kind of just barely in our area. It's really moving away though. I think we'll give you a pretty good warning on that. So that's going to wrap it, I think. Let me go ahead and check questions, comments one more time. Just make sure here, look through that. Of course, if I need to pop back in, I will. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap it. I appreciate tuning in and trusting me for now. I'll pop back in here if and as warranted. But, that's the story. Just a little bit of wear still under that warning around Bickley there. Just kind of around Millwood, but moving away off toward the north and west Coffee County, Douglas area. Pretty big impacts, but that's getting north of the area. So that's going to conclude coverage. I thank you so much for tuning in and trusting me. If I need to pop back in for anything else tonight or whenever, I will. Of course, the next one will so scheduled for Monday, but we'll be keeping an eye on the tropics. And if I need to break back in directly for that, as the HRR indicated, there could be that threat. Sunday of some development all of a sudden really getting going, and of course I will. But that's an outlier. That's unlikely at this point. Only a 30% chance of development overall, 10% in the next 2 days, according to the Hurricane Center. So that's the good news. But still having some impacts here with the spin and with the instability, and that's why we still have some warning action on the board, even though it's kind of leaving our area here, as we've been alluding to. So that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in and trusting me. I'll be back here if and as warranted with the very latest. Just enjoy your night the best you can. Stay safe. Whenever thunder roars, go indoors. I'll be back here if it is necessary. But for now, just enjoy your evening the best you can out there. And we'll see you here when it's necessary on all the different platforms. You have like YouTube there. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, make sure you do that there. They're at Clouds Weather. But enjoy that night.